Any other corrections or changes?
Is it recording?
Do we have an E, curriculum instruction assessment, but Mr. Motika did not join us. Should we strike him from that, or does he stay on the minutes if he wasn't here?
He should not be on the minutes if he was not here.
And then also in the policy section there were a couple things. Did you get the Motika?
What policy?
Did you get that Motika should
Yes.
be taken out? Okay. And so in the policy it talks about IKB. We didn't, I think either we tabled that or I don't know if we.
I think we tabled it.
Right. And then the next in italics in bold it says goes to approve ILD. I just thought, it seems like there was something missing in that section. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's fine. We did ILD. We didn't do IKB, but we did all the other ones.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So ILD is just not, it's not punctuated like the, okay.
Yeah.
All right, any other corrections or changes to the minutes? Okay, seeing none, all approved, or all who are in favor of the minutes as amended?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Public comments. This is public comments.
We're trying to be in touch with the road agent and the bus company about tomorrow's bus routes. And what we're hearing is 4:30, they'll let us know 4:30 this morning, tomorrow morning. I'm not sure if you have anything to know before that, what we're doing for buses tomorrow. And people are being very patient with all of our early morning calls, but I think, even an unnecessary change in the bus route might be better than telling them again, like, something.
All right. Definitely something to think about. Any other public comments?
I have a question. You guys going to think about doing new things since we've already, we lost 2 days? As far as, adding on, 10, 15 minutes a day, or, I don't know if it's too late to, look at, Wednesday, do maybe, a half day to get to 12:30 and count it as a school day. Have you guys thought about it? Not in school during June?
Has not been discussed yet. Just now.
I was actually going to bring that up if we could
Alright.
talk about it, please.
And just for the record, can you say your name?
Amy Khan.
Thanks. Any other public comments? No? Okay. Agenda review. Do we have anything to add or change to the agenda? Hi, Patty.
You have a few roads closed.
We do.
No, we're good, thanks.
All right. Consent items. Any consent items?
None.
All right.
I just passed the citizens packets.
Sure. Select board presentation. Mr. Barry, come on up.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you taking the time to say hello. I haven't met everybody. My name's Steve Barry. Chris Smith. Nice to meet you. I've met you, and I've heard about you. Thank you very much.
I know you.
Yes, Jim, thank you very much.
Hi,
Hello, Patty.
how are you?
Not too bad.
Good.
I have a couple of pieces of paper I'd like to just pass to you.
Thank you.
Zach, you still have yours?
They were abandoned with Jim.
We're there.
Shelley and I can
All
share.
right.
Share.
Thanks.
All right, so, if I may, the Board of Selectmen have a number of challenges to deal with. Basically, the first one, I think, highest on our priority, is we need a new police department. We need a new fire department. It's a long haul to get to that point. And my biggest problem is if we put a warrant article out to build a police department, I'm pretty sure it's not gonna make it. But the need is there. Second problem I have is there's a piece of land that the school owns that is worth $867,000 assessed value that is not paying taxes. Been off the tax rolls for about 16 years. It's sitting over there by Middle Road and by the fairgrounds. And to be honest, I don't believe you're ever going to build a school on it. As a matter of fact, being in the audience back in the day, the only reason that we bought the land was to keep houses from being built on it. My understanding is that you folks are looking for expansion. Having sat where you sat, God, 27 years ago, in this building when it was brand new, and having to say it's not big enough when it was brand new. I have an idea about that. My history with this building was being told that you could do 2 expansions and that there was nothing left. Anyhow, bottom line, you need some place to go. The town would like you to think about giving us the land that's down there, the 75 acres, which is on the first page. Second page shows you Freeze's Pond, and down the bottom you'll see where the school is. That area where 107 and 43 come together, there's a big lot, 11 plus acres. That's where we're thinking about building our safety complex. And we're working towards having that land surveyed and going from there. As you see around it up to the top, there's a 5-acre lot that is the town of Deerfield. There's another lot with a house, and then another lot that says town of Deerfield. That's 3.9, I believe. If you look at where the school is situated, up to the left is another 7 and change acres that is the town of Deerfield's land, which is connecting to this property. And there is a right-of-way that goes all the way around to that. So what the Board of Selectmen would like to know about your interest in is, we'd be more than willing to give you all 3 of those properties if you wanted all of them. What we'd like is your support for a warrant article on your warrant, asking for the permission of the school district to cede the land to the town, the 75 acres. What we would then do if that was done is also put on a warrant article. Town has the right to dispose of property. We would ask for permission, should your warrant article pass, that once we sold the land, any and all proceeds of that sale could be used to fund building a police station / safety complex. If there was anything to be left over, to keep that in a capital reserve fund and ask the town to donate towards it. I'm pretty sure all we could do from the beginning would be build a police station and save any residual towards a fire complex and such. It is the selectmen's desire to build the whole thing on that 11-acre parcel there, and possibly even future locating the highway department there, getting them out from behind the town hall. That's it in a nutshell. At this point, the school has the land and can't do anything with it. I'm offering a proposal that the Board of Selectmen is offering a proposal that we can swap some land.
So you're looking at for the 75 acres, we would see 7.2 and 3 point, so 4, 11, 16, about 16 acres.
And more importantly, centrally located to the core right here.
Right.
One lot touching this property, and if you had to expand, I think you could possibly put,
Just looking for the lot number.
for want of a better word, another building there that would be accessible from here.
Have these properties been surveyed by the town?
If they have, it hasn't been recently. We're having to redo that 11-acre property because that's about 35 years old,
Okay.
that part.
So, just so I'm clear, so we're looking at lot 25, 32, and the 5.1 up by
It doesn't say the lot number up there. It must be
Yeah.
30.
this, and this.
Yes.
No, it isn't 30.
No.
It'd be 34.
I'm
No.
looking at 32, probably
32 is probably both of them.
32, 34, and 25.
25 is the piece on the other side.
Though the 34 is a 5-acre parcel that is right on North Road and Freeze's Pond Road. Reasonably doable for a soccer field or something along those lines. The rest of it, I haven't had the opportunity to look at. One of the board looked at it and thought that that one would be the perfect one right there on 107. We didn't really come up with the point of saying, well, we can ask them if they want this land, until I had just recently heard that you folks were looking for possibly fields or something along those lines, or maybe an expansion.
We're doing a study right now to give us an idea of whether or not we need to do an expansion. We're doing a demographic
Need,
study.
or whether or not you can.
Well, yes, but
Okay, my experience says, I know at least in the 90s at one time we looked at this
right.
and knew that this building, once it had its two expansions, was done. Again, I believe it was done in the early 2000s. It was looked at. My understanding is you can't go up,
No, that's not. We know that.
and I don't see any room to go out. But yeah, again, that's just passing on information I got a long time ago.
Right.
What do you anticipate the cost of the police station project to be?
We're looking at it now, and we're thinking pretty close to $500,000 to just start the project. We would love to build the whole complex, the whole thing all together. But we've been told after a public program we put on last year where people got involved that maybe the best way to go about it is to hit the most important thing first. So we're looking at a police station. We're looking to try and get that involved in next year's warrant. And we're probably talking about $500,000. We just, we're just voting to spend $7,500 to do a survey of the land, not a positioning survey, something to tell us where we would put the buildings and such.
I guess if I'm throwing my thoughts out there, the proposal on the town side seems to favor the town more than it does the school. It's not as equitable to both parties. It seems to me that, the value of the land that we'd be swapping isn't nearly the same as the value of what we'd be receiving.
No.
Okay, so, obviously this is a huge and long discussion, but I would favor something a little more equitable with the excess proceeds from the police station side of it. This building is gonna be in need of some major refitting as well, and I'd be more interested in talking about it if some of those additional proceeds could be earmarked for refitting this building is what it needs. So, I mean, that's my.
I'm just bringing the basic proposal
Nope,
forward.
and I'm throwing my thoughts on the table as well.
And I would counter that while it was a vote of the school district, the town came up with the money. It was $375,000. This year in revenue alone, based on the tax rate we sent last year, we're down we're not getting paid $20,000 based on the assessed value.
Right.
And over the last X amount of years, the town has not gotten the revenue. And granted, if it were to sell and become a developed property, you could probably triple that number that the town would receive in revenue.
But then it would spend quite a bit in education, because
Well,
give you a pretty good idea.
we were talking back then, we were talking 15 houses. And back then the talk was, oh, we don't want those built, we don't have to expand the school, we don't have to do this, that, and the other thing. Well, as you well see, every single new house that goes up in Deerfield sells. People want to come live here.
Yep.
I would say that we're trying to take advantage of the bump. Land is valuable, and now would be the time to sell it.
Steve, if I could ask.
Sure.
On the property that is on the North Road side, the bigger parcel there, one across from Mr. Mike's. So you're looking to build on there if you don't
Yes.
get this? Is there anything holding you back from building on that?
Money.
Money. We could probably come up with a warrant article to build a police station on it this year. And I would, based on history, doubt very much if
Right.
we'd get an approval.
Right.
You guys have run 2 or 3 warrant articles at it at this point? Or no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's 3, right?
Yeah, and I'm just trying to find a creative way to start the ball rolling. You know, right now, the police department is operating out of 2 old
We have access to
classrooms
this
in the
piece.
George B. White. And we're that far away from getting sued for $4 or $5 million if 1 or 2 things happen that we have no control over. It could be a really simple thing, and all of a sudden we could be under suit because we didn't follow procedures because we don't have the room to do so. You know, and anyone who's been in the firehouse knows that we have to buy specially sized fire engines to be able to still fit them in the firehouse. So we're at the point that the folks at George B. White were at when they had 6 modulars out in front of what's now the police station, and you know we were doing everything that we do in this building in that one.
Right.
I'm looking for options, and it came to my attention the other day, a couple of weeks ago. I said, you know, that land has been sitting there for 15 years. Again, in a conversation last week, we started looking at all the land that we have around Freezer Pond, and we said, wait. And I could pretty much tell you that I would recommend to the board, even if we don't do the land swap, if any of those lots were of use to you folks, I'm sure we'd provide them to you. I'm not trying to say, if you do this, we'll do that. What I'm trying to say is, we have this and it might be of use to you.
Right. It'd be interesting to see kind of a wetland study on those properties. I imagine there's a lot of
Sure
wetland
Kate's
there.
got something.
Yeah. But, okay, interesting.
Yeah, I think that'll be the challenge, and even where you want to place the safety complex will be wetland. But I mean, that'll come
We've
out,
looked
so-
at it, we looked at it probably about 8 years ago on the previous attempt.
Mhm.
There is plenty of room there that's dry for us to put whatever we needed to put out there. Right now, we're just doing a site survey so that we have an idea of exactly where we want to place it here, we want to place it there. Because when we start, we're probably going to build the whole septic system and the police station, and it'll be set up so that we can then add the firehouse and maybe move the highway department out there, you know, and rescue and everybody. It's been basically cited as a central point, and it being right on 107. It's not the prime central point. The central point would be across from the George B. White, but that was a lot more work,
Right.
that proposal that we did. But that would be the
Center of town.
most center of town. Right now, we have fire engines over at Birch Road. We have the newest fire engine that we just paid $450,000 for 3 years ago, and it's over on Birch Road, and if it needs to come to this side of town, it's at least 8 minutes to get it here. So I wanted to drop that for you and ask you to think about it, and
We will put it on the agenda for our next meeting to discuss presentation and maybe have some thoughts kicked around before then.
fair enough.
But I understand your timeline, with warrant articles and such. So
Warrant articles we have until January something,
Right.
so it would require,
Fast.
yeah,
As fast as time.
it would require a lot of coordinating between the two boards, but if we don't start somewhere, we can't get to the end.
Right.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Thank you very much for seeing me tonight.
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
All right.
Thanks meeting you. It's been a long time since I've been here.
Next up, CMK Architect. Fred. I'm not gonna say your last name because I would
I still can't.
It won't be well.
do
Won't be
it embarrassed. Ratajkowski, how's that?
Excellent.
Pretty good? Okay.
I'll just stick with Fred.
Sorry?
I'll just stick with Fred.
Well, thank you for giving me some time tonight. We started the first part of our two-part study, the engineering study, back at the end of August. Spent several days here, and actually have spent several trips subsequent to those days as well. The latest one being today, going through the school. And in our process, what we do is bring along a great little tablet. I didn't turn it on for you, but I could do that over the process. But we scanned all of your drawings and put them onto the tablet. And using a program called PlanGrid, which you really don't want to print out on paper because it looks like this,
Holy crap.
but we focus on individual items and state their condition and will assign costs to them. So as a result of that, we produce a voluminous document, and I only have 2 copies of each of these. This is a draft.
Okay.
I get one.
You do.
I'm sorry?
She said she got one.
I'll just put my foot down before anybody else did.
And these 2 drafts are from our office, CMK Architects, as well as Yetton Associates. So what you see here is essentially is an inventory of all those things produced from our program here. So after that intro, what I have produced and have forwarded off to Ken and Shelley, but have updated as late as today, is an executive summary which we can go through some of the highlights on. I don't want to take up all your time tonight, but we wish to provide you with an update of where we are. The building needs work. A lot of it. And I think it's suffice to say, I know that a number of things have been done over the years, but a number of things need to be done over the upcoming 15 years. And what we've tried to do in the last couple of pages of our executive summary is just to list some of the things that need to be addressed fairly immediately and then down the line. I guess of primary importance are some of the mechanical issues. You have units installed in your building that have been faithfully operating for the last 30 years. And 30 years is about the lifetime of an air handling unit. And so therefore, you know, the units in the gym, by example, they have a replacement value of $45,000 plus an exhaust fan that is that is also in need of replacement. That, the combined total on those two is about $57,000. To get ventilation into the classrooms, you have 36 through-wall vent units. And they come at a replacement cost of $3,500. Now, this totals up $126,000. That is really it's not a system that we advise using because it is noise within the classroom, but we offered this as an economical approach to updating and upgrading the ventilation within the classrooms with new units because the present ones have been there since 1990. A better system would be to have a ducted system, with a rooftop unit, but that would be substantially more money. So therefore, we offered these systems. I'm sure it comes as no surprise to you that the flat portion of the roof is original to the roof. We have about 32,000 square feet of flat roof up there. And the roof over the gymnasium, I was told, was replaced, and I did see the file on that. And that was I saw the file on the roofing of the addition. But to replace the roof over the building is about $256,000, allotting $8 a square foot for the 32,000 square feet. So we're looking at some fairly substantial amounts of money that can be scheduled over the next 5 years, the next 10 years, and the next 15 years. And quite frankly, that is just on the building as it exists now, and not addressing any concept for additions or expanding the space, which would come as a result of our demographic study, and as Mr. Smith had just talked about. I don't believe in the paranormal, but I swear I've lived this life before with Mr. Smith getting up and circulating papers around the table. It was interesting. Today, Ken Heckman and I met with Paul Hayner from Hayner Swanson and Dave Price from DES to discuss potential locations for an addition to the facility. And I have some copies of a draft of Mr. Hayner's executive summary, which has not been yet woven into our final executive summary. But he does speak to the fact that we have leach fields up underneath the playing fields, one of which that has also likely reached the end of its lifetime. 30 years constant use, and soils do become saturated. We did have an outbreak down below, I guess on the leach field that is on the bench of the side of the slope. Suffice to say that our meeting with Mr. Price was inconsequential. He did not come to reaching any comments on a preferred location for the prospective addition. We are favoring as a location for this prospective addition to be the wetlands, which is on this side of the facility, as opposed to an addition. I suppose I should orientate these to the way we're sitting within the building. As opposed to a prospective addition over toward Breeze's Pond for a number of reasons. I mean, we have the shoreline protection setback of 250 feet, which runs through our building. We with a variance, we can argue toward infilling and taking over the wetlands. The wetlands over to the south side of the building were mapped back in '88, and they were original. However, I can guarantee that they were augmented with the construction of the school as well as the perimeter drive. And those wetlands are wet today, but they're not always. Do drain out to Freeze's Pond through another sort of a finger of a wetland.
With a pipe underneath the drive?
There's a pipe, there's a lot of stuff underneath that drive.
Ton.
There's a pipe going from the wetlands, there's also the run from the septic field that goes over, there's,
Must be perimeter drains.
there's electrical that crosses over from our generator back to the
Sounds like a great day.
transformer.
Yeah.
There's tons of activity.
in school.
So our argument to Mr. Price was not to construct to the front of the school, which also has ledge, and not to the back of the school because of all the activity and the inherent costs, and actually not over to Freeze's Pond because the wells are located adjacent to the parking area here, and the pump for the wells falls within the footprint of the addition.
Are there thoughts on how much square footage we,
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet. But with this plan,
Could
this
you
would
pass
be,
those down here so we can take a look? Thanks.
you can have these. With this plan, we're looking at optimal expansion. So these should be viewed as placekeepers for locations for the additions. That is a pretty much of a 25-cent tour through what we've been doing. I apologize in that the study has taken a little longer than what we had anticipated, what you had anticipated, but quite frankly, the issues are somewhat complex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would prefer to err on a schedule and deliver to you within the upcoming weeks and months a complete program that you could take forward to the town. Suffice to say, even with the existing facility over the course of the upcoming 5 years, 5 to 10 years, and even beyond, you're looking at an investment that is approaching $2 million on your facility. It's a lot of money, but once again, I think that this can be done incrementally and can be done with sizable projects that are let on an annual basis, such as, mechanical package, things that need to be done immediately. The caulking of the ceiling of all these perimeter joints around the building between the panels of the brick and around the windows should be addressed fairly immediately. Okay. Okay, so that's really a broad brush of what we've been up to for the last 8 weeks.
Do you have any preliminaries on the demographics at this point, or not? That'll
Not yet.
come along. Okay. Excellent. Well, thanks for the update. Any questions?
is there, I guess, something, and maybe you already have it, or maybe you can break it out. Basically, your costing sheet for future projects. Do you have a 1 to 5 year priority listing separated out from the 5 to 10 year and the 10 to 15 year? So we can look at it in a little bit quicker format while we're going through our budgets here.
That will be coming. The mechanical is organized in that fashion. The building exteriors items are certainly priority items. The building interior items, with the exception of some items that I know that are favorites among people, such as the replacement of the gymnasium floor. Most of these are aesthetic in nature and can be held off.
Okay.
However, I would like to point out that, for example, not only with flooring but with ceiling replacement and with painting, I'm looking at, these numbers are cushioned, if you will, to include a general contractor overhead and
Right.
profit and markup. So when you look at these, and talk to your brother-in-law with his pickup, but, you know, he would ask to, you know, why is this carried so high? Well, it's really carried for a professional contractor to address them.
And are they priced out independently as if they would have been just for that project?
Yes.
Okay, so if you had somebody who's coming in and doing a larger
Down by the stage.
amount of work, you'd probably have a different price.
Like the stage.
Exactly. But these are also today's numbers.
Right.
So, not knowing exactly where the economy is going to go
Yeah.
with interest rates and inflation, and the industry is incredibly busy,
Right.
has been busy for the past year and will continue to be, can influence those costs, so.
All right. Any other questions?
Hey, we found the grenades I've been looking for years.
And they're numbered.
And we found them. I've been asking for years where all the grenades were hidden in the building. We found them.
All
I
right.
told him, "He asked, you shall receive."
Excellent. Thank you. We look forward to hearing more.
Well, I appreciate it, Fred. Sorry I couldn't meet with you today either, so.
Good meeting.
All right.
Yeah. I've had a couple good ones.
And actually, as an update, I have scheduled a meeting with the Conservation Commission for Monday night. Basically to report on what had transpired today, to inform them that we are talking to Department of Environmental Services so that they are on board. There certainly are no decisions in place or anything like that.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe
I plan
one
on
of us
being
will join you there.
there. I'll be there.
All right.
And then over, watch the show.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. What do you need back for information, Fred, anything?
I'm sorry?
Do you need any of this information back, or?
No, I have the files.
Okay.
He's not loading
It's
this
ours.
back into his car.
No, you can have it.
Excellent. All right, we will wander on the agenda here. Start with board reports. PTO update. Andrea.
Not too much to tell you guys this time. We are now our own tax ID numbers, and we're now an official organization. We wrapped up our yard sale fundraiser, and now we're looking for someone else to coordinate it, because Jen Bear does, and we brought in Shanice, and did it all for us. Wrapped up our antique candle fundraiser project, and we're having people pick them up now. We had a scarecrow competition, and the winners and prizes will be announced very shortly. It should have already been announced, but after the storm. I know the scarecrow I built went all over the street, so I have to come back and pick them up. And then we discussed possible spring fundraisers, and our next meeting is on the 14th.
Excellent. Any questions for the PTO? Thank you, Andrea. Executive board report. At our last meeting, we reviewed the SAU budget and agreed on a presentation for the full SAU board, which was done last Wednesday. I report at this point that the SAU budget was not amended at all, as and voted unanimously in the affirmative upon presentation. So that's what happened at the executive board meeting. Any questions about executive board meeting? All right. Mr. Smith.
School's been canceled this week. We're waiting to see the full extent of cancellations, which hopefully we're past now, before we're thinking to talk to the teachers union and see if they're open to trying to make up days, if they have ideas for that. And then talk to you. I've been training this week for CPI training, Crisis Prevention Institute's training. It's nonviolent de-escalation. And I'll be able to instruct the staff here too. So there's a lot of good de-escalation stuff and finding ways to get people out of situations so that they don't escalate and get into bigger problems and learn from it so that in the future they can avoid those things. because that's a focus that we're trying to work on right now. We met with a representative from NABS, Patty and I and Brian, who gave us information about a self-study procedure that they offer, and I think
It's on the
Patty just-
agenda, yeah.
the pamphlet. We're working on the Deerfield snapshot profile for the UNH intern process, which is done actually, but we're just trying to tweak the format a little bit so it's more exciting for people. I apologize, I'm tired. I was up at 4.
We heard from you.
Yeah, I know, probably 100 times because I haven't figured out the system yet. Sorry about that. We went to an ed camp on October 14th and went with Deb, and it seemed like a good place to make connections for future technology needs, as well as a place to learn about using current technologies in the classroom, and that was, I thought was really neat learning stuff. October 9th, we had a staff development on competency grading, which led to subsequent meetings and grade level trainings with K-5 teachers. So that was a really good day, and a lot of stuff got parsed out, and then we met again, and they've since met individually with grade levels. Big congratulations to boys and girls cross-country teams on winning both in the Southeast League Championship and the New Hampshire State Championship. I'd like to thank Sue Laskowski and Jim McKenzie and volunteer coaches for their time and dedication of the team this season. While the boys and girls did not have winning seasons, all who participated had a great season, and stories have been made to continue a great soccer program at DCS.
We made the playoffs.
That's exciting, right? Current number of students at DCS is 515.
Okay.
Wednesday, the 8th of November is parent night, primarily for grades K to 5 to talk about competency grade reporting. And Veterans Day presentation.
What was the date on that, Chris?
That's the 8th of November.
Okay.
Next one.
Next one.
Veterans Day presentation and breakfast is on the 9th of November. Veterans Day is the 10th. First grade story night will be held November 9th in the evening, after the celebration. And an early thank you to the first grade team for continuing this great tradition. That's it for me. And the pay stuff I rolled in because it's all part and parcel of the work that's being done.
Okay.
Is that work? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, does anyone have any questions about Chris's presentation? Okay. All right. So we'll move on to the Curriculum Review Board.
We did not meet.
All right. Building Committee reports. I think we just heard quite a bit about the Building Committee.
We did.
Do you have anything else to add?
No, I did mention to him, though, that on the options you guys saw, on that picture right there,
Yeah.
just notice there's just a hallway that would go out.
Right.
That if we went to that side, I probably want to make sure that we look at options for the cafeteria and possible teachers' lounge and room area too. And if we're expanding on students, we need the head count for the cafeteria, which is pretty tight right now with his schedules. So he's going to make a note of that, so they can talk about that.
Clear that and taking that into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else? Item G, Building Committee membership. Who's presenting on this?
We have not had anything. We were trying to get out emails.
Okay.
We had one feedback from one person here. Ken and I were trying to get maybe 2 or 3 faculty members, and we're still trying to come up with ways to figure out how we can reach the community outside the school. And we briefed on that in the last meeting, but I don't think we've come up with any ideas. I think we talked about maybe working with the PTO or trying to put something in the website or something.
Any other board members want to weigh in on makeup of the Building Committee membership?
Or ideas about
Where to go?
outreach. How we
I mean, if we hit the Facebook page, we're only limiting, I think, to the parents that are on it. Kind of want to get out
We
beyond
can
the
reach out
parents.
to the town and ask Steve Gemelli over town to,
Post it on the town site.
yeah. And planning board, I bet you could get a couple of people off the planning board.
I should have asked Steve. Okay.
He's not planning board.
No, that's right. He's like, well, I'm going to be over that way, I think.
planning board and building board.
Hmm.
Both of those
Yeah.
Yeah.
might have people who'd be interested in.
I'll be there
Building.
Monday night, so I'll find out.
Do we need to establish how many of each kind of group of representatives there?
That's what
How many?
That's what we were asking. like what we thought was a good number.
So we have two of our board representatives at this point. What do you see the makeup? What do you see like? What's a workable number?
As long as we keep an odd number, I think, but I mean,
Like 5 or 7 people
total? Yeah,
Yeah, I would say probably no more than
no more than 7, yeah.
Right.
9 at the most, and that's a very big committee.
Do
I mean, the difficult is trying to get everybody, you know,
Together.
together at the same time.
you guys want to go 5 and then?
Let's shoot for 7 and hope we get 5.
Okay.
Exactly, that's what
So,
I'm
I mean,
exactly gonna say.
Right.
Obviously, it depends on who's interested, but I'd love to see
Sounds like an overpromise and underdeliver.
everybody as a community member.
There's a
so
lot of
that's
people in
kind of
here that wanna do it.
redundant. But
Yeah.
Somebody from the planning board, somebody from, just my personal, would be like, maybe somebody from the selectmen or the zoning board.
Yeah.
Couple of people over that way.
Planning board, I think, would be great because they would be one of the things that came up today when we were talking about.
Right.
Both of those options have impacts on certain things. You heard him mention the shoreline zone. It already goes through the bill.
Right.
So the option on that side would be that. Going to the swale and using the swale, that has wetland impacts.
Right.
So one of the things that they're going to try and figure out is which is going to take precedence over, because there's a lot of overlap. So, but a third thing that would be influential is if the town itself has any sort of wetland buffer zone. So that's where either the zoning board,
It's 100 feet.
zoning board, planning board would be critical to have, but also the conservation commission
Right.
to get their
Planning.
input. So we are required,
1 or 2.
the conservation, if we do this and we start to apply for permits,
Mm-hmm.
DES is required to get conservation commission feedback.
That's why they're
or
meeting,
comments
that's
on
why
the
they're meeting on
application.
Monday,
Right.
right?
So if we can involve those two groups early in the process,
So
we
the
can.
planning and the selectmen?
Well, I think
I think
it's
the
more
planning.
conservation.
Yeah.
I would say planning and conservation, or zoning and conservation.
I
Get
think
2
you'd
of
also
them
be
down.
served well by finding somebody in the community who's a professional builder, who has, not that I think many
Or
of them
commercial
have
builder.
much time.
There's commercial and then there's residential, so we'd have to find a commercial.
Who's commercial in town? I mean,
I don't know either.
So we can
stick around.
But just so we know, we're already up to that amount, so we haven't even talked
Maybe
about.
someone from the fire department too, maybe.
I'd
at
wait
the
on
start,
that one.
I don't know. Eventually
this-
we will.
Yeah.
Eventually we will.
But as part of the committee in general.
Yeah. I did just from the start and seeing, because we don't even know which way we're going to lead yet.
Plus, they're in the middle of a transition.
Your fire department?
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. They will
Yeah.
need to be involved
So
for
we're,
the safety reasons during the design process. But at
we
this
have
stage,
one
I'm not
planning board member,
Sure that they're critical to involve.
2 school board. We have Barbara Cook, and I believe Amy was part of the faculty here that would like to be on the committee. So there's 2. So we're up to 5 already. So
So 7. Look for 7 people. Is the rest of the board okay with that?
is everybody okay with trying to get somebody that is not a parent and actually a community member?
Yeah. we got
I mean,
that.
that's who I really want to reach
Right.
out to. You know, I mean, I think it's great we have the conservation, but I think we need to get the,
Well, there are people in there who are
Absolutely.
not parents and
right.
are community members, so that,
So 1, 2,
yeah.
2 for community.
Make sure you invite Amber too whenever you're.
Yeah.
Not that she can always make it, but.
Sure. Pulse Amber. Always.
Does that give you enough guidance?
Yes.
All right, next up, we'll go to the Nelms. Is this you?
Chris and I
All right.
together. So Brian, Chris, and I met with the executive director of NELMS, and as we discussed, asked them about what their full school assessment looks like, and explained to him that we were considering whether we were going to go through the NEAS process or do something a little bit different. So he gave us this packet that I'd like you to take a look at. In the very back page is, of course, one of our first questions on the last page was, what is the cost associated with going through this process? And it's $5,500. So Chris and I haven't had a chance to go through the budget and see if there's a place that we could identify where we might undertake this process this year, so they understand that we may be looking at doing it for next year. If we don't identify a place that we would want to transfer funds or use something else. So if you want to take a look, maybe next meeting we could talk about what you think about the process itself.
Right. What was your first impression?
I like the process. You guys can speak to it.
I like, it's similar to a 360 view, like when you're being assessed by the people you work with, the people who work for you, the people who you work for, in that it issues separate surveys to students, parents, teachers, and it also, you can tailor the questions, so you can get a sense of around a certain issue, particularly that you want to have an idea about, but also the general climate, and you can tailor that. So I like that because it offers us several opportunities. I know that there are a couple questions you guys are exploring anyway. You could dovetail all that in, so we can kill more than one bird with them. So that's what I
It seems like they spend a good amount of time with each group, and they have a pretty comprehensive survey that we can't share. It's proprietary, but obviously we can look at it once we decide to go forward, if we decide to go forward. And it's completely anonymous, so the staff will take it, any member of staff, you'll take it, I think, community, right? Parents?
Parents for sure,
Yeah.
kids also.
Yeah, right.
Different
students.
surveys for different
Yeah.
people, tailored differently. Also, like staff one uses a Likert type scale, so but the students is a lot more. Sometimes never. Right. So I liked it. I thought it was good. Each one seemed to appeal to the audience.
We were able to take a look at the surveys as well as a report that they had done for another district, and I think most people told us that we were pretty impressed by what they would be able to accomplish in a shorter amount of time and for more than half the price.
And this would focus on the middle school, or this is the whole school?
No, this is in middle school. That's, it's in, League of Middle Schools is the association, yeah. And you talked in the past about taking a look at our middle school and how it's configured, and that's why we thought if we want to do that anyway, this might be the way to go.
And the option is on the table to look at the fifth grade too, to get their feedback of what, their anticipation of what the middle school is going to look like, et cetera, with parents and feedback as well. So that's good.
So they cover that transition.
We can, that was an option that they put on the table, absolutely.
That's cool.
All right. Well, interested in reading it and talking about it next time.
If you think of any questions in the meantime, if you want to email them to me, I will forward them to Jerry Frew,
Okay.
and then I can have answers for everyone at the next meeting.
Excellent. All right. Amber, here we go.
So excited.
So, do you see I'm so excited? Not as excited as me.
Oh, this is heavy.
Thank you. You've seen the same measure?
I don't have a packet though.
Would you like one?
No,
You
I
passed me.
passed you over.
Figured you'd seen it.
I have seen it.
All right.
Yeah, can I just start by thanking Amber, because I think this may be the first time that we've had the budget at the first November meeting.
I think so too. I don't think we've ever had
It's
it.
usually the second meeting, so thank you for working so hard with that.
It would have been in a better presentation, but our copier decided to argue with me this afternoon.
Right.
So
It lost, didn't it?
it lost, and I lost,
And the roads.
and the roads lost. So there, unfortunately, it's not numbered because the copier couldn't number them. So we can go through it. But what I'll do is I'll walk you through what's in here because there's a lot of information in here for this first round.
Okay.
So first you have your first draft of your operating budget. And in that, I have, designed it so it looks like exactly like we propose it to the MDC. So that way, as we're moving forward, there shouldn't be any change in the way it looks. So I've added in the color coding and everything, just like the MDC likes. What follows that is the food service draft budget, so you have that as well this early on. The district assessment, which is final, since the SAU budget has been voted. What follows that is the proposed budget rosters that align with your operating budget. And then after that, you have your default budget. And then after the default budget, you have your default rosters, so rosters that go along with your default. And I've also included in this packet some potential salary increases, so you guys can start thinking about that as well. And I've also included high school tuition information so that you can see where I came up with the high school number. Now, with that said, I have spoken with Concord, so this is a draft number for them. I have reached out to them to find out when we're going to get it finalized. But this number wasn't derived off of me creating any percentage. This number was actually given right from, for the Concord portion, right from Jack at Concord High School. And we also have the Bow High School. That number we also might slightly change, but that is an estimate as well from them. And then what follows that is I put together a tuition history that outlines how many students we've had since 2007, 2008, all the way up to today. Then I broke it out into elementary and high school, and then the high school I broke out into how many actual Concord High School students in comparison to how many total high school students. So I know that's a lot of information, but that's what's in the packet for you. How would you like to go through this, Jim?
Why don't we take a couple of minutes to flip,
Okay.
and then we will come back around to the start.
It's way too much here.
Thank you for pulling the high school numbers, by
Yeah.
the way.
You're
and,
welcome.
This is
Enrollment,
great.
because there's a lot of misinformation spread around the town, and it revolves around those numbers.
The numbers that are on that are taken from the New Hampshire Department of Ed website, the end of year numbers,
Okay.
other than the current. The
Okay.
current is as of the numbers I have today, but everything else was used from end of year numbers.
Stapler.
All right, everybody had a chance to.
Yeah, another minute would be good.
Yeah.
All right.
Another hour would be good.
Yeah.
I'd like to start by pointing out in the budget, and Amber can go over that however you want, but we spend a great deal of time adding notes in, so under a lot of the account lines, we tried to add descriptions for either what's being requested or what that line is typically used for. So Amber, Chris, and I work together to do that, and if there's any area that you say, geez, I still don't understand what this account line is for, please let us know, we can add that in. Hoping it will be easier for people to understand who may not be familiar with budgets.
In regards to the typical one that, drives the budget other than salaries, which is health benefits and dental, I know that school care had their annual meeting today, which I was unable to attend. But I should have those numbers for healthcare, I believe by the 8th of November, which will be good for now. They've asked us to estimate about 6.5%, which is what I've done. I have heard back from dental, where originally I was estimating 2%, but since then, since I've been doing the budgets so far this year, they have come back and they are increasing, which they have not increased in several years. So they're increasing to 2.3%. So the number you have in your budget is an actual number of what it will cost moving forward, other than whatever you might see for plan changes. For healthcare, one of the other things you're going to notice is the amount of change is large. So it's large for a couple reasons. One, you have the 6.5, which we're hoping comes in under. But the other thing we had is because the amount was so substantially higher, I went through and compared what our roster was at budget time when we budgeted for 17-18 and what it currently is, and you had 18 plan changes, which is substantial. I mean, since I have been here, I have never seen that many changes in a roster for healthcare. So you had several people move from a buyout to an actual plan, which tended to be either a two-person or a family plan, which tends to be, those are your highest plans. So those are some cost drivers in there that cause that to be significantly high. So I'm hoping that when school care comes back, that it's under the 6.5 and we can decrease that a bit. But like I said, I won't know that until at least the 8th. But hopefully by the next time I see you, I'll be able to refine that number just a bit. Hopefully down.
I think the other biggest area of increase is in the special education section.
Yes.
If you haven't got to that point yet.
Substantial increases.
What?
Yeah, special placements alone is up $194,000. So that's why I put a note in there so that people understood what was in that line. That it's out of district placements, but it's also all the special ed services provided by Concord High School, which is a big chunk of that number. So just so that people were aware that it's high school as well as not just K-8.
So we're looking at a sizable increases here.
As of now, yes.
As is your first draft. I mean, clearly we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
This is, this is our first run through. We just got it all put together. We've had a lot of pieces, but we haven't been able to see what the full impact was until within the last day or so.
So can we start digging into little quick, easy fish real quick? Is that doable?
Is what?
What?
Can we start?
You can start.
I can start shooting
Start at the
stuff?
beginning.
Oh, I just was highlighting lines, but I've got a couple easy ones,
Nice.
if I can.
No.
So, I'm upside down.
Line number, please.
I am going to, and I apologize now, go after
Jeez, here we go.
the school board salaries line.
Why don't we just start at the
Pretty
top?
small one.
Listen, I want to kill what we can kill, and I want to move that down to $1. Line 235. So, I'd move. Do we need to make motions on this, or can we just?
We can do it, we could do collective decisions and make a motion on them all, but I think it'd be better if we made individual line motions.
So I'd move to reduce line 235 to $1 then.
We have a second?
A second.
Any discussion on reducing line 235 from $2,000 to $1?
So that you would not take any salary? Voucher?
Correct. Do not send a 25-cent or 20-cent check.
Do not send a 20-cent check.
Why, anybody know why it was put in there in the first place?
Because this is a big job.
A lot of work.
We get our stipend to
Yeah,
buy our
this
dinner
is-
in the spring.
Yeah.
You mean why you were getting $400 to do this?
That really balances out the mortgage for me at the end of the year. That $400 is really what makes it.
It's
I
not
don't
even
know.
400 when I get taxes out.
Yeah, and then I always donate it back, so I'm paying taxes on money I'm donating back.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on reducing line 235 from $2,000 to $1? All in favor of reducing line 235 from $2,000 to $1, say aye.
Aye. That's why I brought
Opposed?
brownies.
You better start bringing more than that.
Anybody opposed? No? Okay.
Okay. Sorry, I was going after low-hanging fruit.
All right.
Can I point out some things that are missing in case you go to those lines? We did not bring yet the enrollment projection sheet to go through class sizes to talk about staff, because obviously that's a big part of your budget is staff salaries. Chris is still working with Mike on the maintenance spreadsheet, so these numbers are very rough.
Right.
They need to sit down and try to figure out what equipment they need, what supplies they may need. He's inheriting the budget and doesn't really have a handle on yet what we need, so that may take a little bit of time. Can we have a draft for the next meeting in 2 weeks,
For
do you think,
sure.
on maintenance? Okay,
Yeah, we met already.
good.
We were meant to meet Monday.
So,
And then, Cindy's spreadsheet, we will provide for you, because she puts all the co-curriculars and the coaches. So there's a few backup documents that we'll have in a couple of weeks.
Line 23,
Yep.
why is there a huge increase there?
We have additional services, and when I met with Karen earlier today, and she said there's additional services needed to be provided this year,
For next year?
for next year, yes, sorry.
That's under the special umbrella, or?
No, it's regular ed, but she works with those individuals that
She
provide those
oversees
services.
all student services, so not just special ed.
What would they be? Do you know, or would that be like a specific Karen question?
Yeah.
Let me talk to her.
Yeah, I mean, I know what the contracted services are, I know that has to do with, ELL, a lot of that, the cost of the, on line 27 is 5,200, I know a lot of that has to do with the ELL.
Okay.
I'm not positive, so I don't wanna give you the wrong answer.
can I jump in?
Sure, go ahead.
All right, line 30, the high school budget.
Yep,
We have a capital fee from Concord High School now. That what?
Yes.
Was that new this year?
it's actually started 17-18, and in 17-18 it was 470, so it went up to 483.
Okay, so realistically, our tuition isn't the 12,000, it's 12,500 per student. Okay.
When
We
they
would
give
add
us the
those two
final
together,
number.
really,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
There's also a lot of discussion in Concord about buildings. So I don't know if our capital fee
Yeah.
would directly reflect, you know.
I can't remember what the contract says.
Okay.
You can
I'll look
at
at that verbiage for you. I'll call Jack too and have a conversation with him.
And that, you're fairly confident, that number's not, shouldn't swing drastically.
That number is a number I received directly from Concord High School. Like I said, he did give me a number much earlier than typically they would, which is December. So he did tell me it was a draft number, but he knows that we've started budgets earlier and that we're really looking to refine as quick as possible. So I have sent him out an email asking for a time frame of when we will get our final. So, I mean, they gave me the whole breakdown of how they came to this number, so I can't imagine it should swing much.
Okay. The electronic software licensing, line 44, this is if we do, I thought we budgeted for Eureka this year,
So,
if we decide to go there, right?
So the software line, 1100, 650, 108 dropped by 7,600 because, and this went up because they don't sell software anymore, they sell licenses yearly.
Okay.
Which
So
line
that's
were-
not entirely true, but that's a
Yeah, what line are you
model that
looking
What
we're-
line were you referencing?
Line
84.
44?
44?
Oh, yeah.
44?
I think you're specifically asking about Eureka, so,
Well, it mentions it,
yeah.
so,
Yeah, that's part of the line, and part of the increase, though, is a switch to licensing from buying software.
okay, so.
And that's what line item?
84.
84?
Can you,
Okay, so
It's
that's
an offset.
can you add a note that
Reference
it's
that.
offset in line 84,
Sure can.
please?
So then, does that, if we go through and buy the currently budgeted math program, will that increase that line? Because then we'll have to pay new annual licenses for
It's
it?
just the math.
So that's the Eureka you're talking about, so we've already budgeted for
that's-
this year to make this
To make the
$100,000.
transition.
But then that'll be an annual license fee after
There'd be an
that?
annual
Probably,
license.
So that would also impact that line as well, or would that be next year's?
It was, if I'm correct, the 84 software line will go more towards licensing. So it was a continuing cost that we would see, but it's now going to be under a different line. I don't know. Let me take a look.
Catch on this one.
So I
Yeah.
think what you're asking is,
5,000.
if we do go with Eureka, is this line all of a sudden gonna inflate by 12,000?
Right, because the whatever, the $100,000 that we budgeted for the program is for this current year we're in right now, and once that purchase is made, will
Gonna
that then
change.
require a license for next year?
I believe when I talked to Heidi though, that she, put the heavy number in, like that was if we buy the more expensive one and go forward, that this would be the increase, but I can follow up and just make sure that's what you're asking, yeah. But, That's all right, the program gets purchased and that would be the ongoing, that's my understanding.
Go fit subscription. Got a magazine, whatever.
Why did line 67 go down? Because we purchased
Yeah, that
a
was-
new.
Yeah, the new master plan.
So realistically, 45 is offset by 67 and 84?
No. The
No?
math, we had budgeted for a new math program this year, so that will be done, so we don't need to buy that again next year. But we may buy a software license for some online component, which is in that other line.
We were averaging around $5,000 for that line, and then we had the big purchase
Yeah.
this year, and then we're only going down to 12.
It's workbooks, I have that.
Yeah, it's the student workbooks, right?
Okay.
There's also a huge increase in the phys ed equipment lines,
Yeah.
line 71.
Yep.
Huge.
That's, if you look at the note on line 75, it's the polar risk units for fitness monitoring is, 179 times 25 of them that's like 4,500 of that line.
So,
What
can you
are those?
sell me on those?
You're right.
Chris will.
Chris just learned.
Or Brian, do you know enough
I don't know
about
about that
those?
one.
Yeah, the PET, I know it's some type of fitness monitoring for the kids in PE, but I don't know enough about what he's asking.
I'm gonna have a
or
hard
what
time
he's-
with that.
So that's the,
Using it
that's the
for.
subscription?
I think you buy the units.
I think it's the heart monitors.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you have the subscription for
Yeah, but-
$350?
And we've got $5,000 worth of monitors there too.
Wow.
Or $4,500 worth of monitors.
Right.
And that's the entire increase, to be honest with you.
Yeah, the other description are things that we typically buy, and then specifically this year he's asking
I
for
expect
that.
those to roll
Yeah.
over.
I have a question that kind of goes back page, and it's because we just had the high school discussion that's on my mind, but this is line 32 versus 33. There's $4,000 that we're paying per student to Co-Brown times 7, and is that in the contract? Is that language in the contract that's $28,000 that we're paying for students not to go to Concord?
You pay the tuition, whatever it is.
We're paying the full tuition.
Yeah.
That was an
And that was
interesting
You
conversation.
you can't not entirely fund
Yeah.
where you're sending a kid to public.
Illegal.
I
It's
thought
against the
in
law.
previous years, there was some language where the school, or in other towns, I thought that there was,
They've tried to.
Yeah, it's
pay-
illegal.
Yeah, there are other towns doing that, but
It's not
we,
legal, is what
if
you're
the
saying?
I'm not saying that, the statutes, and our attorney's advice is if you're going to offer a high school placement, then you need to pay for it.
it's a big challenge. Put it that way. Okay, thank you.
You have to poke the bear.
I was there at that meeting.
No, me too.
Fun.
Mm-hmm. It was awful.
So I'm gonna highlight line 75.
Yeah, I did too.
You did?
Yeah.
I wanna talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're 750,000 up, right?
Yeah.
730,000.
And Chris and I had that conversation, that anything like
That's-
that new is probably gonna be looked at and
That's
discussed.
huge.
Yeah, we can't,
No,
Yeah.
no.
so.
I nominate-
There's no way that we can do
I
that.
nominate Ken for budget committee.
Or we, I mean, let the language strike that.
Line 89, new instructional equipment, 5 red cats for $1,100 each. What are red cats?
Red Cats are the sound system.
That's what we were using before we had this system. It's that white speaker with the
Just wear them
microphone.
around their neck.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. We need new ones?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Right now, I think we have 4 or 5. 4, I believe.
Yeah.
And
What's a climbing harness musical?
It's,
right now, they kind of move around, and it's not the best to be moving $1,000 equipment through the hallways with students in the hallways. So essentially, they're put on carts and wheeled around to different locations.
So we're looking at getting stationary. By buying 5 more, it would be stationary.
So yeah, essentially they just stay in the room and
Have any of them ever been damaged moving around with the kids?
not that I know of.
Okay.
I can't speak to that. I'm not sure what.
We should ask Deb.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened last year. If anything
Just
happened.
in line 92,
I was just looking at that.
stand-up desk.
Where are the desks in line 92, the stand-up desks?
What are they?
Where are those slated for?
They are slated. We've been have requests from a third grade teacher and several middle school teachers. We bought some probably 4 years ago, and they have been beat up pretty well.
You can get them for less than that.
Yeah, but these ones are the ones we have now are we've already lost 2, and they were middle range. These are the high range. We've actually had one from WB Basin to borrow for a while, and that had been transported from several schools, and almost as a demo, and it survived all the moves in all those schools. So
They are
they're
nice
on
though.
them, and,
They are.
They're used every single day. And
If you sit.
That's the stuff I would rather we be looking at the end of the year if we have a little bit of money
Then putting it in a budget.
than putting it in.
I don't have a stand-up desk at work.
Yeah.
It's for kids.
I like one.
Oh, this is for
Not
kids?
that- Yeah.
Yeah, it's for students.
This is for students that,
This is not for.
You always need to start with that.
yeah.
Yes.
Because if it's for you,
I figured since we were working.
I figured it was for you or
school,
Chris.
No, I'm not.
I see a stand-up desk in your office. Are those required for anything other than, is there a,
No, they're not necessarily required for any specific student. They are generally used by students who have a lot more energy than others. And
Okay.
Who have a tendency to be more distracted by just sitting in a desk. And they,
Standing up helps.
It makes it-
standing up
Yeah.
makes a huge difference for some students.
okay.
And there, in some classrooms, in some middle
Hence
school
why they're
rooms,
not
there's a
lasting.
fight over them. If there's only one, there's usually, the teachers sometimes have a list of who goes next with them. That's how popular they are.
Okay. And the filing cabinets that are in there? That are line 94, I'm sorry. It's carried in the same.
Those we're just kind of just going recycling them through them. They get beat up so bad, like we've thrown out. I mean, we have some that are from when the school was brought up from George B. White, still that are just
Can we
they're just beat up.
get by with what we have for another
Well,
year?
I don't think there's a certain price on that because
There's
there's
not a certain
so
price. That's just
Okay.
a list
Right.
of what some of the
That's
items
What you're
are.
looking at is the other one, right?
Oh, that's for the computer storage and the cards?
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah, that's just the desk, bookshelves, filing cabinets. These are things that just are wear and tear. And like I said, we literally still have furniture in here from 17 years ago.
Yeah.
And
Alright.
they're-
I've seen
and
it.
we make do, but some drawers don't open, etc.
So the,
I-
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
on those lines, the $3,000 computer storage cart, if you look down at line 96, There's 40 lock and charge Chrome cards and additional charge cards. What's the difference between the computer storage cart and cabinet?
Charge cart.
Well,
Basically.
there's a lock and charge card
Yeah.
and there's a lock. So
20 lock.
Yep.
Oh,
One
there's 40 of them.
Right.
right, but I mean, is there a level of redundancy? What is the computer storage cart and cabinet, the $3,000 one? And is there a level of redundancy there?
Usually we're looking at the 21s are usually, sorry, the 40 lock and charge cards would probably most likely be used in the building, and the 20 cart ones are used out in the mods.
Okay.
So the bigger ones are used to wheel around the building, and the other ones are more stationary in the mods because you can't wheel them in and out of the mods. We're looking to lose the actual computer hubs in the mods. Would save, if we can get these cards, they would save a tremendous amount of room. And in the next 2 years, the numbers are going to increase significantly in the mods. So the amount of kids in third grade right now.
Okay.
Unless you guys shuffle rooms again.
Yeah. Don't tell that to Doug.
Nate?
I think we probably could do this for a while. This is a first draft, and I don't think we're gonna make up, $750,000
No,
by talking about
not nickel and diamond.
And
Right.
so, I'm happy to send this back to the administration and ask them to cut this, some. But I think really we're not gonna make any dent in this until we start to see people who are like retiring from the staff, changes that are gonna be more significant. And I don't know that this is a good use of our time right now, to be honest. I think we need to make more substantial changes than this kind of stuff, and so
I agree with
to
Nate.
do this now is not. I think this is something the administration can do, and we can. Well, we have bigger things that we do. We're not going to solve this with it.
Mm-mm.
It was workbooks.
Okay.
Trying to print the full read up, but
Yeah, it's like cutting down a bus, or it's like those are the kinds of things we need to talk about, not how many desks are in it.
It all adds up.
It does.
Sure, but at the same time, I don't know that we need. I mean,
Ultimately-
these decisions are not. this
No,
is not
right, not right now.
And I think we heard what you're saying, that anything that's like additional that we don't have now,
Mm-hmm.
we will need to think about, can we get by without it?
Right.
And we didn't have to go to those conversations, we were just building it the first time through, so now seeing the bottom line, we obviously know that that's a bigger conversation. And we can, like you said, do the little pieces, and then we need to make the bigger decision.
Speaking of busing, and the final lines, did you pull the 8th bus out that we budgeted for last year, or is that 8th bus?
No.
That would be
that
exciting
really happened.
Generator just got off.
because it could have.
Yeah, power's probably out right now.
Probably,
The generator
they're working
kicks
on
on.
They're working on the lines, I know, up on 107.
So,
No, that's based off of I believe it's the 8 buses. Let me double check that, but I believe it's 8 buses that are in there.
Are we still recording?
Yeah, I looked. Yeah.
So, I mean, at this point, should we at least adjust the budget down for 7
Let me make
buses
sure,
and
though.
continue doing what we're doing to make it work? I mean, that's a big chunk. There's 70 grand, Amber?
Yeah, they're like 50 something a piece, 51 or so. 8 buses.
Okay, so I would move that we adjust that line. That would be
So remove one bus.
336. Remove 1 bus down to 7 buses. That is a big chunk we can hack at. I need a second on that, I think, right?
Thank you.
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion? All in favor of removing 1 bus from 336? Say aye.
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 And just for the record, for anybody that watches this, that is a budgeted bus. We're not taking a bus away that we currently have.
That is, it leaves us as status quo.
Correct.
That's cool.
339, we have 93,000 in special ed transportation.
we do,
Yeah.
Is that addressable or not?
No. I mean, we have to
no, it's whatever's in a student IEP, and if a student is placed, we have buses to get students here, and we have buses to get students to their out-of-district placements.
Okay.
With that said, we are working towards putting out a bid for sped transportation.
Great.
So we are in the process of doing that. So hopefully, maybe we can come up with a little less expensive than we have now, but that's not a guarantee. Potentially it could go up. But that is something that's in the works.
And it's safe to assume that whenever possible, there's carpooling or multiple students that are transferred.
Oh, absolutely.
The difficulty comes when, one student is placed on this side of the state and the other student's placed on the other side. But they've been good about ride sharing from 2 different towns too. So Deerfield kids have shared seats with like Northwood kids going to the same place. They do that.
The other thing that I reached out to was in regards to the modulars, because the contract ends after this year. So I've reached out to them to reaffirm some pricing, make sure that we're in line with what we have now. I've also asked them to provide us with the buyout again, not that necessarily we want to do that, but I think it's worth looking at. We did that the last round I reached out to them, and we secured, I believe it was 2 years this time, this past time. So they are in the process. I did that like a week or 2 ago, so I'm waiting for them to send me those figures.
Okay. And 348 is the line you were talking about with a number of people have
Is
signed
that-
on to the health insurance?
Yes, and I put a note in there too, because it's estimated 6.5, and there were several plan changes.
And there's
Nothing you can do about it.
there's nothing we can do. We can't.
And we can pray and hope, and that if it comes in below 6.5, that's about the
it.
best we can do.
But that's accounting for the 6.5 and the increased number of people who are on health
That is
insurance.
correct.
And then next year's contract year.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the teacher retirement contribution, I know last year went up.
It's not changed.
It
I
hasn't?
just put the note in here so that you knew
Okay.
what the rate was,
So
but
that
there's
stays
no
static?
change that I'm aware of at this time. I can't imagine it is. It usually stays pretty consistent for a few years, couple years.
Yeah, we just got a pretty big hike.
Yeah, last year, so I can't
Last year was
imagine they're
a
gonna
huge
make
hike.
another change this quick.
Custodian salaries, 297.
Yes. Custodian, there, when I took a look at that, because that did jump out at me as well, we had some change in staffing, so that was a little bit of it, and then we also had, looked like some additional hours worked in more than the previous year, so the roster, or number of hours an individual working is a few more. So I can provide you with that information, Chris, because I did pull that because I was wondering the same thing. So I'll send you that tomorrow so that you can see the breakdown.
Okay.
The other change, I think that it's worth noting. I've been concerned about this since pretty much the day I arrived. And that's because I got a letter almost the day I arrived in regards to the food service. The amount that you're contributing to cover the food service budget is substantial. This year, it's almost $60,000. And so it just keeps increasing each year. And so I think it's something you need to look at, and I do have the food service budget in here.
Where is that, at the end of the packet?
That is right
Right
after,
after the-
actually the very next page.
It's one sheet, right?
It's just one sheet, yep.
Okay.
There's not a lot to it. We did work and take a look at what we believe we're gonna receive for revenues, and then what, the costs were going to be to run the program as is.
So, how can we fix that?
Have you looked at a comparison of staff here versus other similar schools, K-8 schools?
No.
So that's a more good look
I thought we did.
I did do
Yeah,
that last
last
year.
year.
I believe I did that.
We had full-time benefits and everything.
The benefits is what really drives this.
Yeah.
A lot of the individuals, so the way some districts get around increasing the cost of their budget is doing a more flexible scheduling, so you may have more part-time staff and less full-time staff, and that would save on some health benefits. From what some of our other districts do, that's how they get around some of that. I believe other districts within the state do that as well. So you would have somebody work a 4-hour shift instead of a 8-hour shift, or things like that to kind of cut those costs. That's one way of looking at it. The budget, I mean, it's not, the rest of the areas you'll see there's really not a lot going on. There's not a lot to cut from. You have to provide lunch to your students. So unfortunately, with this particular budget, that's really the only place that you can really cut.
I mean, if I'm reading this right, the cost of the food is 30% of the actual cost to operate the cafeteria.
Close.
Yeah.
Is that representative of the other schools in the district?
This is substantially higher than
Why?
any of the schools in our district.
Let me see a breakdown of the positions, number of workers.
Yeah, some of it is the number of
hours.
positions, whether benefits are offered or whether they're taken.
Can we get all that information maybe for the next meeting?
Sure, I can break all that
From a
down.
couple of maybe Northwood's a K through 8, is Chichester a K through 8?
Yes.
Abson's a K through
Yep.
8. Is
You
Nottingham
said,
a K through 8?
you said Northwood?
Nottingham's a K through 8. Northwood, Nottingham, Epsom and Chichester are all K through 8, I think.
And we still don't know, I mean, we've increased the lunch costs every year for the last couple of years. It was, I think, 5 cents one year, 20 cents another
Yeah.
year.
We did.
Somewhere
yeah.
along those lines. And it doesn't seem like, are we getting less participation with it at that point?
I think
Yes.
you are getting less participation, yes, and I can get you those figures, because we do keep track of that as well.
Yeah,
So I can get you figures on that.
so and again, I'm gonna get hung for this. I will say, should we try to kid up the offering a little bit more? And the reason why I say that is my kids are offered, they can buy lunch any day of the week they want. They choose to take a peanut butter and jelly sandwich from home probably 9 out of 10 days.
I don't follow what you're proposing.
I don't either.
It seems
My
like
kid
some of
brings
the
both.
offerings we have are not, I don't think the uptake is as high as it could be because of some of the offerings we have. I think the food that comes out of the cafeteria is excellent, but you need people to buy it. So if we're not selling anything, then we need to move it around. But there's a lot of those things that come across in the menu. I go, that sounds pretty good. My kid's like, no.
My kid eats both. He packs a lunch and so
Amber, do we have
You
a
got 3
cost
boys.
per meal that we
Yes.
could compare to other districts?
I know we have it for all our districts.
That might be worth looking at.
So I don't know, we don't have it for other
Maybe
districts
just the
outside
offer.
the SAU, but I'm pretty sure that we have that for, and if we don't, then I'll have Delisa work on that.
Yeah, I just, if
I think that might be an interesting thing to do. It might actually be fun if Paula did like a survey among the kids. Just, hey, what do you think is great? You know?
So she's.
I'm gonna pick on garbanzo beans for a second.
My kids love the garbanzo.
I don't even know what a garbanzo bean is, but my kids will not go anywhere near anything that says garbanzo beans on it. My
it's just
kids-
because it's a bean, or
Hummus? Do they eat hummus?
No. I'm sorry, it's my kids.
My kids come home and rave about the
But
garbanzo.
if you wanna sell 360 more lunches a year, we gotta,
Does she
You gotta
track-
fix-
we must track how many.
well, I think the hardest part is keeping it under nutritional value too, by the federal law.
Yeah,
You have to
How
offer
much
so
each
much.
serves for what?
like the popularity of things.
Yeah, that's what.
Cheese sticks.
I think we're getting too nitty
If
gritty
she's
here.
serving
I'm just,
hot dogs one day and she sells 100 of that, but goes to tuna sandwiches the next day and only sells 20.
stop selling tuna sandwiches.
I think that number may be more indicative of the increased cost that we put on that,
I
rather than
think
the
it's-
actual food that's coming out of there.
We're $2.50 for a lunch or?
Well, no, I mean, because
$2.75?
for most parents are making the decision. Most parents are saying, all right, you're
You're getting how much?
at $2.50. I'm gonna.
You really think that's the case?
We are down a rabbit hole. So,
Well, it's another 60 grand.
well, it's not. It's not. I mean, if you look at the sales, we went 80, 88, 88, 85,
No,
87.
I'm getting it, but what I'm saying to you is it's a $60,000 expense in the budget.
right,
So, I
but
mean,
that's in health. That's in health insurance.
So, but you can't change that side of the equation, so you need to sell more.
No, we
can
can change
change that
it.
side of
We
the
can change
equation.
it.
Did she, there was mention of
That's what-
utilizing a buying group.
Yes.
Yeah, because they go to part-time with nothing.
How
We make them
well
part-time
has
and
that
they
been
don't have
implemented?
benefits.
I know, I don't like that.
Has,
We
has,
have-
there,
we
has it been
have-
impactful for them?
Before.
Um,
It's a year-to-year.
I think we could utilize it a little bit more.
We've said,
I mean,
cater
we
it for a
have
couple
a couple
years.
districts that utilize it fully and are really benefit from it. Pembroke is one of them, and they really had saved, I think it was, when I looked at the budget the other day, I wanna say it was like 7 to 8 grand alone just in food by utilizing this fire group. So,
Didn't
I'll
we
take a
talk
look.
about that before?
Yeah.
Why didn't we go down that road?
No, we
Because
are going down that road. We have rolled it out to
didn't
all of
we-
our districts.
Because we ended up implementing that, what, a year and a half ago, 2 years
Yeah,
ago?
2 years ago. I know when we first implemented it, one of the issues we had was that
Inventory.
the vendors may not have been the exact vendor that they've used in the past, or they didn't have the exact offerings that they wanted. But with that said, a new bid went out for, I believe it was this year, 17-18, and the vendor of choice that a lot of schools use ended up winning that bid. So they are part of the buyers group. So hopefully we get more schools utilizing that. But I have seen an increase in the utilization. I can definitely take a look at where Deerfield stands in that.
That's what I was saying. Didn't we, was it last year? So this is like echoing, like, we had this conversation 2 years
we
in a row.
Yeah, but we,
Right,
So,
have it
but
every year.
wasn't there a problem first that you kind of came in and helped out in the cafeteria?
yep.
She's straightened
Inventory
out
and
the
trend,
budget.
so that's all set there, so, and then now this food group management system is supposed to help?
Yep, that's been in place for 2 years. I think this is the second year.
For us?
For the SAU wide, we rolled it out to everybody all at once. We brought all the food service people together, we brought in the buyers group, we had them explain it, we had individuals from the buyer group come to each of the schools and go through the process, the ordering, how you would order, all of
So-
those things. So we definitely have provided that.
So we have seen the savings, we just can't see it in this,
I think you've seen some savings, I think you can utilize a little bit more.
okay.
But I can get you the information on how well we're utilizing it.
Okay, that'd be great, because I think that'll help figure out where we're going to.
Can I just
remove.
ask one more question
No.
about the food services?
Sure.
What are we charging
Always
currently
wanna
for
say that,
lunch?
I should know this. I pay it every day.
250.
250.
I just write the check every so many months, but yeah.
I can get you a breakdown and I've given you a history before. I can do that again if you want.
So the fixed costs on the increase are right now 200 in health insurance. That may change based on what we hear back.
Yeah, it could go down. The health insurance could go down.
And then we're looking at over 200 in special ed. So
Correct.
we basically are looking at 350 that we can work with.
Can I was gonna say, I just wanna throw one other food for thought out on the food service thing.
Yes.
So, based on anticipated revenues, just on the food service revenue, not taking in some of the other programs, it's 190 meals a day. Basically, we're under 180 days. We're looking at about 190 meals a day, so we're getting a 45% take rate. That leaves 55% of potential.
Wouldn't that include snacks and everything now?
That, yeah, I just
It would have
took the
to
number
include
and
everything.
divided
I
it.
wonder, I just wonder how many.
So then,
'Cause
that'd
in-
be a more fascinating thing. If you back snacks
Plus
out,
we
of it,
have-
that 190 might be down to
And
160.
breakfast, yeah.
Plus, we have the, help the kids, the
So we may only
meals that
be
don't get paid
seeing
for.
30% buying lunch every day. If we get that number up to 45 or 50%, we can take that,
Yeah.
we can increase enough, get enough revenue increase. to
We've
hopefully-
also been working with the districts and trying to be creative in offering maybe some catering, even if like selling cookies, brownies, things like that. So I need to go back and look at why that went to 1 when we budgeted 800 for this year. But I have had some districts that have really gone out on a limb with this and have raised a couple $1,000s by doing things like making brownies, selling things like pies during the holidays, things like that.
Not to kids.
Not to
clarify that.
kids, yes, not to kids,
To
to adults. And so, when we started doing that, I pulled out so that we could see the catering revenue. So it's not in with the food service, it's its own line. Same thing with the food and the supplies, it's broken out so that we can see exactly what we're serving our students and exactly what we're potentially catering to.
I remember
So-
one of our, that's a great point, because one of our districts, the lunch workers made platters of cookies,
Yep.
and just in the SAU office, they
Yeah.
ordered, how many platters.
Yeah.
But it is a great way to make revenue and
Mhm.
save people from holiday cooking.
Yep.
It just reminded me I gotta go home and bake.
Yeah, I want to say she made like $600 or something. I mean, it was for a one-shot deal. That was a pretty good amount. So those are types of conversations that
We
we're
could
having.
do some of the
with
events
them.
too, where they cook stuff like basketball classic. I mean, instead of selling all the crap that they gotta buy, why not?
So as,
Yeah.
as,
I
uh,
mean,
as
I mean, how much
we
stuff?
are,
So we could do that.
we're getting really
Down
down
the
in the weeds here.
What we do
As
best.
Nate was saying, there's a lot of, you guys have a sense of what we'd like to see next time around.
You want us to look at everything that's increased and see if we can cut it.
Let's look at everything and see what you
Everything.
can cut.
And
Yeah.
even things that haven't
Can
increased.
I,
And do.
just point to your district assessment for a second, which is the next section after the budget, after what we were just looking at. We did make a note, Amber and I made a note, because we've heard repeated comments about the cost of the SAU going up and big percentage numbers being thrown out, and that your cost, your district assessment share may be up 7%, but that does not mean the SAU budget is up 7%. So our SAU budget is down this year, so we added a note in there that explains that the amount of increase that you have is because your evaluation went up and your number of pupils went up.
That's
So
right.
that's how it's figured out of how much you pay to support the SAU. So we made a note of that, and if that's brought up, hopefully that will help to explain why there's an increase, and it's not because of increased spending at the
So
SAU.
don't lose this paper.
Well, it's on line
I've actually
256.
So Brian
Handed that
points out
Yeah,
also.
it's an important one.
We absolutely are gonna do what we say, and we'll go over it with a fine tooth comb.
Right.
But as you're looking, recognize a lot of those increases, we have no control over.
Right, like I said, there's 400 that
Can't
can't
touch.
even be played with.
Right.
And we're not saying, I don't think anybody here is saying zero out the rest, but have a good case for the rest.
Can do.
We
We can't go up 40,000.
we can't. All right. Any other questions on the initial presentation of the budget?
No.
When will you be able to make adjustments for staff changes as far as retiring and all that stuff?
They have to give notice by when?
Well, those that we know of that are retiring this year, like they're leaving for 17, 18, so for next year, we've noted in the rosters who those individuals are, and we budget at an average of step 5 for those.
Okay.
So
Is
that's
that the director
reflected
one?
in those positions,
This-
except
Wait,
for one.
The contract now, I think what you're asking is the new contract you put in for that year, so we could still, I don't remember what that
Oh, I
date is,
got
do
you.
you?
It's usually December, isn't it? Well, some of the other districts are anyway, December
I
1st.
wanna say, do you remember when
I
we
think it was
negotiated?
December.
I thought it was
December?
early
Or
December.
November, okay.
So if we
So
just,
potentially, we could have other,
Yeah.
if we can just make sure we have a note to finalize that before we send it to the
Oh.
NBC.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Well, we won't have
Alright.
those numbers, I think, till December.
But not, we should talk about it now, but if there's a certain position that's retiring, then that salary, I can almost bet will not be lower than what we're already paying.
Unless we don't fill it.
Yeah. No, it's the director of special ed.
Oh, I see.
Okay. Any other questions on the budget at this point?
could we, take the same approach and ask that if people have specific questions, they could email them to me ahead of time?
Yep.
And then we could come with the question they received and the answer ready for you.
Sounds good. Everybody good with that?
Yes.
Anything you didn't get that you would like to get other than what, the food service information?
Not right.
Not yet.
It's been noted, but we should look more critically at how we can better transport our kids around our town. If we can streamline our routes to the point where we can actually cut a bus, then this is not the time to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Capital improvement plan.
So,
Mr. Langlois.
this is the list from our last meeting. And we have obviously a lot of information to digest from the information from the architects. So we wanted to come together with a little bit of a list and see what was that? I am sorry, we,
Thanks a lot.
sorry, Candy didn't print enough.
That's okay. I'll share.
Candy.
But this is, at this point, there's a lot of stuff that is in that report that we need to really kind of look at and prioritize. So this was when we started talking, but looking over that report, I'd like to take that report and try to,
Yeah, it'll change this.
it's gonna
drastically.
change this significantly, so I think,
Yes and no. I mean, there's some things that we agree on, like the ventilators and
I think,
the
yeah,
air exchange.
Well, I think it'd be worded differently. I think some of the
Yeah,
smaller
it-
stuff they could put
they'll-
on.
They'll still be on the list, but they might.
the nice thing, so, I mean, and I can start taking some of that information from CMK and trying to digest it into a
They
one
did
to
a
five thing, but they're gonna do it,
prioritized it too.
yeah.
That might be better to do a
Yeah.
priority and then, because there's gonna be a lot.
Yeah, I mean, this list is gonna get bigger and longer.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though, but we can't include things that are just old. The things that are on the CIP list have
No,
to be.
no,
the CIP is everything, it's all encompassing. Spending the impact fees cannot be used on things that are just old.
Right.
So we have,
Right.
that's a subset of this project.
Right.
For the contractor, did we ask them to list in order of importance?
Yeah,
Of
they're
what needs to
probably,
be done, prioritize?
yeah, that's
Yeah,
on the
it's
sheet
numbered
here.
in there.
Oh, okay, I haven't seen it yet, so, okay, great.
Do you want this one?
Yes, I brought a copy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bring it up.
Within the executive summary.
He knows.
We should
Yeah.
get
The exact, well, she's got the priorities in there, but yeah.
An answer, but I haven't heard it. So we need to understand.
I'll get a copy of everything into Sakai and then
Yeah.
everyone can look at it whenever they need to.
That'd be great.
All right, so thanks for pulling this together, Zach. So I guess the next thing is, obviously, is there anything else that we've heard tonight that we want to add to this list?
There's,
Do Chris and Brian have a copy of this too?
No.
No.
sorry,
Can we? Okay, thank you.
thank you, Candy.
Oh,
So, as far as things to add to it, I think there's a number of items in that report we need to look at. One of the things that I did notice in the report was their estimates for replacing the roof was significantly higher than the numbers we were playing with before.
yeah, they were.
So, I need to go through that report and see what they think we have for lifespan out of that, but it's gonna be places we need to start thinking about a little more heavily, because based on their figures, we don't necessarily have enough money to.
Well, I think the roof is a good place to start because we know we can't go up. So,
Right.
I mean, we've had that hesitation the last couple of years of just fixing it pending what this,
Right. And-
Research would do, so I
and-
think
and
we're
looking
safe
at
on
the
that.
Proposals, we're not gonna have something, we're not gonna blow out a wall and
No.
attach a roof.
No, so we can
we're
make the
good on that one.
improvements
We
to the
can make the
physical structure.
improvement to this one without,
Yeah.
and it's not gonna,
won't impact anything.
The other thing that I would want to at least look at, and I'm, again, the ventilators that are in the individual classrooms, it is old technology. He made a valid point that an ideal way to do it would be to duct it in and use air handlers up on the roof. In doing that, we could possibly have a more efficient system, but it would also give us the ability, and there's a huge costing that we would have to look at and weigh, but to air condition the building at the same time. Because rooftop units are AC units as well. I think every public building should be air conditioned, it's just my opinion, and it's better technology, it'll be more efficient. So, I mean, I don't know if we want to talk about that as part of that process and making,
I can probably add to that, I mean, so we won't spin off, but we also talked to them, I talked to them back in August, I think it was, that if we couldn't you go up, then I wanted the option to be used, that if we could allow that cooling system. So there was some, I don't know if they still are, maybe we could do some research, grants on solar system panels, and we could put that towards it. Keep in mind, there's air conditioning and then there's climate control. So if we did the climate control option, we're just removing that
taking the
hot
humidity
air,
out. Right.
taking the humidity out, then it drops it down, and then we can utilize more of the cinder block building we have. But,
The thermal mass.
yeah, so that is being looked at, but yeah.
They-
I
okay.
totally agree with you, but I think we need to look at the options to try to get it where we could be a little more friendly, or maybe get a grant.
Especially
Yeah.
where the extreme cooling,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's on either end of the school year, but it's just that.
Yeah.
We're not having to run the entire summer cooling the building.
Right.
So,
Correct, but the cost to cool is minimal in
It
most
is,
cases,
right.
because the units are incredibly efficient, and you're
Mhm.
only trying to swing a 10 to 15 degree differential. Where with heating, we're trying to bring,
Totally different with
we're
heating.
trying to bring up as high as, on average, probably 40 to 60 degree differential. So it takes a lot more BTUs to heat a building than it does to cool a building.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're if the building's staffed, it's being used, my opinion is it should be cooled. Or
I agree.
the climate should
Yeah.
be controlled. There
Controlled.
should never be a reason that you walk into this building and it's 110 degrees inside the
totally-
gym or any of the other public
Totally
spaces.
agree with it, totally agree with the need.
Right. It's just something I'd want to explore before you go and spend a couple $100,000 on heating ventilators over the course of 5
No, I
years.
agree.
Is it more prudent to spend a little bit more and make that next 15-year improvement to the building?
It's gonna prolong not just the air system, but everything.
Yeah, oh yeah,
The
it
wear and
extends
tear
away
on the
from-
cinder block, the paint, you know, the
Yeah.
floors, it's everything.
Rooftop system.
Yep.
Yeah, and the other option would be is maybe they make unit ventilators that have air conditioners built into them, but I would only assume that those are ludicrously expensive and horrifically inefficient in comparison to doing it the right way.
Right. We could look at it though. I'd say look at all the options.
Okay.
So just in talking about doing something like that, do you prioritize the actual roof of the building?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is that on here?
Mm-mm.
No. Put the
It is
roof
now.
on. So the roof would be done.
Yeah, again, like Fred said, you could make that a bundle to
Right.
take care of that system at once, so that, again, that might drive
And it's-
cost savings.
I mean, there was a $2 million list there, and it's only gonna get bigger, you know? Now granted, that $2 million list was intended to be extended over a number of years, but you could spend $300,000 to $400,000 a year trying to get everything back up to snuff. And realistically, for the last 10 years, maybe there should have been $200,000
yeah.
spent, you
Near
know?
the end.
On the roof?
Have we looked into options of taking on the roofing, now that we're talking about the roof real quick, of maybe making it white instead of black?
I mean, I don't know what best practice is for membrane
Well,
roofs,
I mean, the
but-
membrane is the only black part. The other part is
So
colored
theoretically,
stone.
you could put this top top.
Solar sink.
It would help out a lot. You know, instead of making a frying pan up there.
Well, that's what the rocks are for,
They only stay on there until we shovel.
right? So, I mean, I'd look at whatever best practice
Food
is
for thought,
currently,
that's all.
you know, whatever that is, but I think the building's in need of a lot of improvements. And we need to start,
So we're obviously going to have a ranked list from
the architects.
the architects.
And that's really what we should be using to help drive this.
That is, the things that we want to add to their ranked list at this point. They're working on classroom space. They are not working on demonstrating competency space. We have not, I don't know if you've talked with them about that.
That's a
No.
classroom also.
But I think that's
It is a
supposed to be.
It has a classroom and a greenhouse.
Right.
It's the same.
Right.
That is being considered particularly for option.
Over
Option
here
2.
somewhere.
No, 1
No,
on the side.
It's gonna be in between.
Yeah.
It's gonna be in between there's gonna be a green space in between the buildings.
Hmm.
But
I don't think there'll be as much green space as he thinks.
that's,
May
Yeah,
not
but
be,
yeah.
but
They-
I'm
they-
saying
they-
they are considering it. I just-
Mhm.
okay, but no, but the greenhouse plan had, it's that was an
Yeah,
independent
that
structure.
would
That
have
had-
In the hill.
here.
It has thermal mass as part of the actual existing structure, and it's oriented to a southeast. And there's not gonna be any sun in that, if we build that. It's
More-
gonna be a dark
more-
little alley,
More importantly, if you build that, how is that gonna impact
that,
that?
It shouldn't.
depends on how tall it is, if it's 1 story or
It's
if it.
2 stories, but still the distance to the hill, you would have to have
angle
the
of
sun like
Yeah.
at 20 degrees or something to
But
get
you
a
can see how
shadow.
far the shadow throws here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's gonna
nothing.
throw like that.
That's tricky.
Other things that we'd want, the technology infrastructure they are not working on. What is the next thing coming? What are you hearing, Shelley?
With this project,
No, like
Technology?
in the technology world, where's it gonna go?
for the building here, I think we've just tried to keep them with what they needed minimum, because we didn't know what this would bring.
Right,
I mean, this was gonna stem a lot, from the outdoor classrooms to the new building wings, hopefully, you know.
I think the bigger challenge technology-wise, infrastructure-wise, is going to still be, are we still having issues with the connection to the SAU, or have we solved that?
it's working, it's a work in progress.
Yeah, I don't think
Right,
that's
it
gonna
is
go
Okay,
away.
so that's,
There's a
Anytime
transition
soon.
away from sending all of the traffic to the SAU before it comes back.
that's right, I
And then,
remember seeing that.
What about the
that
wires
hub.
with the cameras and stuff?
right,
Well, I know that
So that
we
will take
agree
care
to
of
the
a lot of the
wireless
technology
access points and the
infrastructure
cameras,
here.
that's a necessity.
It'll take care of.
Unless
it'll
I get
take care of
voted down,
some.
but we're failing
It'll
Homeland
take care of
Security,
some,
so.
no, I was thinking
They
bigger
need to be
picture,
here.
like, and
Did you
and
talk
Chris,
about
you're
that?
also in a bunch of classes now with
I'll bring it
technology
up.
and education. As wireless becomes more and more powerful, at what point do we move away from a wired
You
structure?
start wiring it together.
I don't think we move away from it,
Not anytime soon?
not anytime soon.
Okay.
I mean, I think we could to a certain point, but we can't go, like, because the building's cinder block, our wireless access points are very limited.
Well,
Right.
plus when
we
everything
can
in town
reroute
went down, the school just turned on.
Mhm.
Like, if there is something to be said for a disruption of,
Right.
you know, I mean, that could happen where networks are disrupted and mass attack, then you need that infrastructure potentially.
Right.
I don't know that, like, really that's a big concern, but it could be.
I think one of the things we need to look
It is,
at with the
but
building
it's the center of town.
and capital expenditures is that, and I know I had a conversation with Fred and them a lot, but we've been failing Homeland Security. You know, so some of the codes in this building aren't even to code anymore, but the cameras inside the building, cameras outside the building, you know, that's all part of Homeland Security that we don't have.
There's a grant that's just been made available, and Mike is brand new, so you may have to assist with that, but I think it's due November 15th, maybe? But
Might be something we wanna
I don't
tackle.
think it's an application, but it's, for life safety issues, so
Mhm.
Just have to check.
it might be worth looking
I know
into.
Deb's looked at some of those, so Deb might be
Yeah.
able to help you out as far as that is, but I think we need to take advantage of that, because the fire staircases here aren't to
Fred
code,
asked me
so
during the meeting today, and I.
cameras need to be there.
Does the town consider this an emergency shelter?
Yes.
It is.
Okay, because that's gonna have an impact on some of the other things.
Yes.
We'll have to let
It
you know.
absolutely is, that's why
Yeah.
we jointly.
I thought it
we have
was,
the
but I
generator.
couldn't
Yeah.
remember specifically, but I,
Mm.
Sure. Other things that they are not considering, the upper field.
It's a huge.
They're considering it.
they're considering.
They
They
are?
are, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Their
I didn't
septic
see it.
field.
He mentioned that.
Not septic fields, the fields, the
Well-
athletic
Physically.
fields.
We're
But-
looking at it from this fact that it's a septic field and it is an athletic field.
Okay.
I mean, I've kept a certain member at bay for the last year. So what we're trying to do is look to see if we can go back beyond that,
Yes.
okay? So it is being talks, I want to
Okay.
make somebody
And
happy.
I'm just thinking about how can we get all of
Biggest
our
Yes,
ideas into
yes.
this.
Yeah.
Alternative energy, you guys that's part of it?
We've talked about it,
Okay.
yeah. Until we try to get something substantial, and then we break out from there and see if we can get the grants and get alternative energy, solar panels. Do we have stuff that we can offer back in the curriculum, science classes, you know, the greenhouse, anything like that, weather stations up top or out in the middle of how far back is that outdoor classroom?
It's roughly in the back left corner.
Okay, 100 yards?
From where? From the
In the
upper
back
field?
corner of the building.
Oh, from this corner of the building?
Mhm.
Oh, probably 300 yards.
Okay, so,
We have a ton of land back there.
Yeah.
yeah, it's rocky. But no, then
It's the whole town.
we would look at access points for that.
It's a good, it's,
The greenhouse.
It's a 5
Deb was
minute walk.
talking
There's a
about,
back there.
Deb was saying that the little portable wireless
That's the best way to go at this
is
point
the best solution.
It's
And it's
literally
safer.
right- It's right about it.
for encryption.
Right.
Nobody can hop on it, right?
So I think for our draft CIP, we are going to rely very heavily on
No.
the engineering plan.
Oh, yeah.
And ask maybe if they could incorporate a couple of the other things that we're talking about so that it becomes one document.
I mean,
Sure.
Like, if they have the greenhouse, do they have the greenhouse plans?
I haven't even seen those.
Okay.
We spoke about that
I
months
haven't.
ago, and then it didn't go anywhere after that.
Where's
So,
that home?
there's a little kid one over
But you're
here.
at your house.
I bet you they're in my
because didn't
house.
we want to look at that for the use of the impact fees?
And the building, the big
Jim?
one, we're gonna be.
What's that?
Weren't we going to try to use that with the impact fees? I mean, that's an education.
Right, but if we're doing a capital improvement plan, we have to bring everything into one space and then
Mhm.
prioritize everything, and then we can address it that way, correct?
That's right, that's correct.
So what I wanna do is things that are tangential, or at least have them give us a version of this ranked
That's right.
engineering
Okay.
that we can edit, and we can add some things.
And I probably want to see the greenhouse plans, because I can tell you that the ideas that have been discussed are bringing back home ec, bringing back woodworking shops, to have in the school for the middle school kids. And it's not so much an option, it's just this trimester you're doing this trimester you're doing that, this trimester you're doing
More
this.
and more only with shop.
Yes.
Workshop, home ec, sewing, whatever, you know what I'm saying?
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, so,
Teach them
and then
how
it's
hold a
offered to the
screwdriver.
6th and 7th and 8th graders,
Which end of a
okay?
hammer to grab.
But we don't have the
Those
space
types of
for it.
items won't end up at the top of the list, though. It'll end up being life safety,
It'll be,
mechanical.
it'll be
those
incorporated
types
into
of-
the curriculum based on the school and the classrooms. So, yeah, I mean, to me, it's on top of the list, because if we're looking at a curriculum,
No, but I
We'll
mean the
have
list
that.
that they give.
well,
That he gives you will be.
Right.
It will be because,
There's
under
two
life
separate
safety,
things.
electrical, mechanical,
Right.
it'll be those
exactly.
types of household items. I can get you a template of how to put together a CIP actual format, if you'd like.
That'd be great.
Mhm.
Yep.
And if it,
We should look at what the town had though, because.
I was going to say, what's the
They
town
already- Yeah,
using?
'cause they already
And-
have
They
one.
already
We
have-
should
They
mirror.
do?
It's expired,
The town,
but the template exists and.
Oh, I think I've seen it.
in the town's meeting minutes recently, within the last couple of meetings, they were referencing their CIP plan from 2008.
Yeah, it's,
it's the last time we did it.
Yeah.
It's out of
Well,
date.
we should mirror the same things so that it looks consistent.
And
Maybe we can offer it to them.
could always suggest the template to John too, we could send
Right.
it to him and ask if he'd be open to.
That's what I was going to say,
using
maybe we ought to
that
share
kind of
it,
template.
because
Yeah.
They
I'll
might
take
not
a
have
look
it.
and see what he has, I can't remember.
All right, so thanks for putting this together, and so what we're gonna do is look for a template, we're gonna try to find everything, get it all in one place. When we get things ranked, then we can talk about resources that we have, resources that we need to plan for, and going forward.
can I get the greenhouse plans?
Yes, they may be digital, well,
That's fine.
that would be great, wouldn't it?
I can get those,
Yes.
that'd be great.
Any other questions on the capital improvement plan? Policies, IKB, homework.
Jeez.
Hey, what happened to the coffee pot that you're gonna have at these meetings?
This is the
I
French,
floated that idea. a while
we
ago.
did not let,
Okay,
we don't want Jim to be responsible for the coffee.
I'll make coffee.
We'll be here till tomorrow night. We make
No,
strong
me
coffee.
either. I don't drink it, so
Oh.
I shouldn't make it.
Do not drink his then. It's strong.
I made it once and someone spit it out.
Yeah, for the homework policy, we had your original policy, we had the sample policy, and then Nate, some language for you to consider. I don't know, Chris, have you had any feedback?
Yeah, you asked for feedback from the staff. They're pretty attached. A lot of them really feel that the practice is important. In a competency-based thing, though, if they can meet the competency without doing the homework, then it can't count. If
I'm
a
so
student
against
has
that.
to reassess, then the homework practice that they didn't do in the first place can be part of the reassessment plan, because that maybe is where they went wrong, and but that seemed to be the discussion. It was pretty uniform.
So, could we talk a little bit about the zero hero that's going on in the middle school?
Sure.
Because that,
Does that go with the homework policy then?
no, not really, but we'll talk about it later.
So, the homework,
Reel you back in, reel you back in.
it all ties
Thank you,
together.
Patty.
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
So the homework policy, well, big picture. The staff thinks homework should count. but we're saying with competencies it can't. So I'm gonna throw a simple
Work
question
study
out.
practices next year, which we don't have this year, but work study practices addresses homework.
So,
I'm with the
Because
teachers.
it is it's a,
so is homework expected to be completed this year?
yes,
It is.
Good.
expected to be completed.
It's ridiculous if it
But
doesn't.
we have teachers who aren't doing flipped classroom anymore because it's not being completed. And so they're stepping back from that because if a certain percentage, you're doing a flipped classroom,
Right.
you have them do the front loading of the lesson, then they
Right.
come in and essentially do the homework in class, where you're doing the work, thinking about it, and you can have a Socratic seminar in your class, for instance, or like really dig into something and come with your questions prepared, so your time is utilized in a meaningful way. But if 40% of the kids don't do it because there's no teeth, you
So
can't do the lesson.
how are you giving teeth to homework?
How what?
How are you enforcing, if the homework's not being graded?
It's not being
Okay.
enforced, except for, because 9 out of 10 kids that think they can do it without doing any work are wrong. Some kids can, I mean, that's real. There are those kids who can, they have understanding and mastery of the material, they don't do the homework, they take the assessment, they do well.
So,
But they're gonna go until they get to that point. when
And
they do.
So I'm really
Think they
confused then,
will.
because as a parent, if you happen to get on the MMS, and it is up to date, and you see missings,
Mhm.
and it's just homework, then why even record it?
You record it because if you didn't, then when he doesn't pass his assessment,
Then they're doing it. So then why would a parent, I mean, because, and I'll say personally, if my son's got so many missings, I'm right in here going, what the heck's going on? Because
my
at some
son
point
has
they're
that
saying they've
missing,
handed it
he doesn't
in.
go out
Right.
or play video games, he does his homework,
Right.
because I think it's valuable.
Right.
But
so,
parents don't.
because this ties into the policy.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, no,
I'm having a hard
go
time. You know where I'm going with this, and I'm having a hard time.
I
with it.
can't.
I can't tell what side anyone's coming
Okay.
down on. It's like-
I think
I was just
if
trying to
I could for
understand.
one second.
Yeah,
I
go
think
ahead.
we're generally confused.
Yeah.
Yes, so
So-
may I elaborate?
Yes.
I've been trying to get a good answer all year, and I keep getting the same answer, and the answer is not the answer. It's not the answer I want, in that I either want a yes or a no,
Right, but.
and I'm not getting a yes or a no.
Right,
And
so there's not one, that's why. There's not an answer.
So,
It's a competency-based system, so homework doesn't matter, because if you can meet the competency, if you roll in here on test day and you pass the test,
but by
in
your
pure competency, you win it.
own logic, the student can sit in the hallway all for 7 days, take a test on Friday. Yep, hey, I passed.
Yep.
No,
But the
that
teachers
doesn't
think,
fly.
But that is
Why?
competency.
Why not?
based
He
education.
passed.
It does no,
He met the competency.
this competency
Why
is the
doesn't
issue.
that, why doesn't that fly?
because not every student.
Mm-hmm.
Because competency-based education in the big picture is brilliant, but the students have to still participate in their own
Sure.
education.
Which is fine, but if they come in and take the test, they show that they've mastered the competency, they're on to the next level.
But we're not
They have
advancing them that way.
participated in their education
That's
in
the
their
problem.
own fashion.
That's the problem.
That's the problem right
Because
there.
we haven't fully implemented the competency base, because we're not letting them self-advance. They
Oh,
advance at their own
jeez.
pacing. And the problem is
That's why I'm confused.
we're,
I don't
we're
get it.
doing this thing, but exactly. We need to be all the way in, but we need to
I
not be
disagree.
in.
If
No.
you
You
don't
can't be
do
all
a
the way
phased conversion,
Yeah,
which
you
is
need
what
to
we're
beta
doing
test
now,
it, right.
if you just go all in, it's gonna be way more broken.
So when
than you-
everybody does a phased conversion.
I agree with Chris on that, though.
No, but I'm just saying that
We
if-
have now a 7th and 8th grade band, which allows students to slide. When I did my presentation to the board,
Right.
I said in future, I'd like to see a 5th and 6th grade, then a 6th and 7th grade, which allows greater fluidity throughout, but
And,
you can't do that right now.
And I agree with that wholeheartedly and in its entirety. But if the expectation today is for the students that they have to complete their homework, if they don't, there needs to be a consequence.
We could reinstitute CARES.
And that's what the work study
So
happens to be
now you're
this
just
year.
being mean.
The work study
That was
What do the teachers want? Do the teachers want to have the homework be something that's
No, the
plausible?
teachers, I feel like the teachers express what I'm expressing, that they want the homework to count, but in a competency-based system, we recognize that it can't if the student completes and shows
Well,
competence.
there's a difference between that it counts versus it is graded with
That's
your
right.
competency grade.
So when we have work study practices, it is rolled into that. So that will save the parent, student never does their homework, but they're showing competency. That will be a discussion we have with the parent.
So the homework that they do to achieve the mastery of that competency gets credited towards that competency. Is that I guess that's a wrong,
No, it means both
wrong
gifts.
phrase.
It's separate.
So
Have at it.
if they,
Go for it.
on the, so how does, so that's where the homework should really count, is if they're doing the work to achieve the competency, that bundle of work should,
In some instances, that's the case. So we have a big project that we're doing, and you complete this project and you show this, and you did part of it at home, then in that fashion, that shows, but we're allotting time in class for students to do that. Because then with the teacher's help, we can guide them.
so they're doing all that work either at home or in the classroom, whichever.
But in that case, it doesn't
but
count
that-
as
But that
homework.
bundle,
It's the package, right?
it's
It's
the
the
package.
project.
It's the package, whether they're doing it at home or not.
Some students work slower,
That's the
they may
package.
want to take it home and work on it. I would want to do it all in one shot, so I would take it home and knock it out on the weekend.
So is the discussion at the point where you're talking to the staff and the staff's giving you some feedback, or is the committee, is it formalized around like a group of people who are really beating this to a fine?
I think
That makes
essentially
you
it
want
just
to
comes
get
down
away
to
from
middle school.
competency-based
Right.
credit.
Because K to 5 kids are gonna do their homework. They go
Right.
home and they have a Friday folder and or Tuesday homework folder and they're doing their homework.
Right.
When it comes down to it, it's come down to middle school kids doing their homework.
Right.
The middle school teachers will all tell you they would love to see more accountability for homework. Ellen would love to do flipped classrooms, and she can't because kids just simply there's nothing holding kids
So,
Accountable.
accountable. What
Yeah.
held kids accountable was CARES. Next year, what will hold the kids accountable, in a way, is the work habit studies. But we also need to have something in place to say, if you get a 2 on this part of your work study habits, then there's going to be a consequence. With CARES, there was a consequence. If you got a 2 in CARES, then you didn't get the reward that other kids were getting.
Right.
Or you were...
There was a social consequence.
There was a social consequence. So teachers would love for homework to count in some way, but it can't count towards a grade because so it has to come into that work study habit. It has to come to that social piece. So, but
It would be the parent, though, ultimately. That's gonna they're gonna say, your
Yeah.
kid never does homework. And if the parent says, I don't care, it's got no teeth.
so,
Unless you wanna say,
I
homework
do
has
care.
to count for 10%.
no, I.
Spent a lot of
so-
time back and
So,
forth.
here's a few things, right? So, the kids, we're seeing scores for certain things that aren't trending the way we necessarily want to see them trend, right?
Say that again?
The math scores I saw from SBAC weren't as good as I would have liked them,
Yeah.
okay? So, but are we seeing that because the kids aren't having to reinforce the skills that they're learning?
I would say that's not an argument I could make.
Okay,
I wish it were, but it's not.
Okay.
That would be disappointing.
so is it easy enough to say to the middle school kids where the issue exists? Because I can tell you, my third grade daughter does not turn her homework folder in. Even though she did it, it's in there, but she comes in, she's third grader, she gets a little spacey, she doesn't turn it in, she loses some recess time. There's a consequence. And she comes, the first time she came home, she was all worked up about it. Said, sweetie, there's a consequence.
So we
That
can
is your
hold recess for sixth graders that don't do homework.
No, but,
No, hold on, we're
I'm
totally.
not done. One
Okay,
second.
okay.
So, your middle school kids, if the homework's an expectation, it's very simple. This is the expectation, you don't do your homework, you get a detention. Or you don't do your homework 3 times, you get a detention. So there's a consequence.
But what about if, by the time they get their third homework missing for their detention, they then pass competency? That means the homework, they didn't need it in a competency-based system.
They're still building work ethic. You're teaching them a life
Agreed.
lesson. The
And
life
that's
lesson
what
is you
work
need to have
study
work
is.
ethic.
So
So,
I think
So you need
not
to
to
create a
continue the
consequence.
argument, but
Okay,
I do see
um,
what Chris is saying.
it's a much
We
bigger.
are
We're in the
technically
middle.
talking about,
Answer.
we're technically talking about the homework policy, and this is all relevant,
Yeah, but I don't even know if I want to
But-
even
So
okay this one.
we've pushed this one down the road a couple of times because I think it is a multifaceted approach in terms of where we're going right now. And I hear what you're saying.
It's driving me bonkers.
Okay.
No, I know you
Now,
do.
now,
I definitely know you do.
one thing, there is still a social cost that's in place in the middle school right now. It's the Zero Hero has a strange. We'll chat. Anyhow, do we want to move ahead with this policy at this point, or does anybody feel like we know what we're actually saying in this policy?
I don't now.
I want a policy that reflects what
Make a
the
change,
expectation
make a
is.
suggestion. You have the policy in front of you.
With the understanding that we are up here,
Right.
and we are not in the school on a day-to-day basis. We don't see this. We are
But
parents.
even
and
this-
hang on a second, please. We are parents, and we get feedback through our kids' eyes, and maybe that's as a third grader, maybe that's as a fifth grader. We don't see what happens in the school day. Our job is to be up here and to make policy. And I don't know that the current language in there in our homework policy, I don't think it stays up here. I think it's us micromanaging how the school is going to work, and I don't like that language. That's my 2 cents.
I still just want a homework policy that reflects the clear answer to the question is homework required work? That's what I want.
You don't want that, though. You want that with your answer. And that's not the same.
Well, because the question,
He's
Has
got
So
been-
you.
you asked me what I thought, and I said homework doesn't count. And then you did here we are.
because I'll be honest with you, and I've said this
It's
before.
one to Chris.
If you looked straight at me and said, we're not doing homework, and this is the reason why, and the staff supports it, then we're not doing homework, make your case for it. But that's not the answer I'm getting. The answer I'm getting is, well, the staff wants us to do homework, but we're not gonna count it.
For the
So-
competency.
Right,
All
so,
right, so we have a policy. If
Is
you
this
would
the
like to
one?
make a change to the policy,
which version of the policy?
Which one are we looking at?
we have IKB.
Nothing's been moved.
We have multiple.
We have
versions
multiple
of
versions
IKB
here.
in front of us.
Can I speak to the paragraph that I wrote?
Sure.
Okay, so we're on that one.
So I put in a draft, and I do see this from the competency side, which Mr. Smith was describing, that if a student needs to reach this level of be able to display these skills, demonstrate these skills, and if at the beginning of or early on in the unit time that student can do, or in the homework, a couple days or whatever of this work, if the student can do that, then maybe that homework is a waste of time for that student, and that student could be outside or doing something that I think would be more beneficial. And so I took out the language that said that prescribed exactly how much time each student was going to be spending on homework, because I don't know that doing, let's say, 50 math problems, if you get it after 5, why do you have to do the other 45 math problems? That doesn't make sense to me. And so that was what I changed the language there to talk instead to the different purposes of homework. I think homework does serve some valuable purposes. I don't know that explicitly developing responsibility is wrapped up in, I mean, it could be, but I think instead what I listed there, introducing new concepts, reinforcing previously introduced concepts, providing extension opportunities to explore application of current, I think there's a lot of good potential use for homework. Potentially a way forward might be that homework, maybe what we're looking at, maybe the problem is more how homework is currently structured. And if we're looking at homework as this kind of set of 45 math questions that you have to do, and if you do get it after 5 or 10 problems, why do the rest? Maybe we should change our picture of what homework is. Maybe homework would have, let's say, 3 different sections, and maybe each student gets to choose which section that student does. And so maybe if a student needs more remedial work, then there's a section that's more straightforward. Maybe at the other end, if there's a student who has reached or is close to this competency, then maybe there's a set of problems that are more application or expanding with examples, some sort of extension of the same idea. And so I think there's room to work within our current system, but I don't feel like I'm in the school enough to know exactly what that system looks like.
Read the sample policy, and I think it goes to, it speaks a lot to what Nate has already written, but just scanning it over right there, I think it addresses more of what
where Chris is
The
coming
sample
from,
policy does, I do.
of it will count if it's assigned, if the teacher needs to have the flexibility
That's what I was
to
gonna say
assign
to
it,
Nate.
to count it, to put weight behind it. And like Nate was saying, if the student only needs 5 to get the concept and get the mastery of the competency, move them on. And in reading this real quick, I think this is a good way to relate to letting the teacher have that flexibility to make that judgment of whether or not of how to apply homework as another tool.
For competency.
Chris, you had some of that?
But there's still gonna be people that say, I'm not doing any. So I don't think that what you're saying is invalid.
Right.
That's what we're running into. And you can make the homework perfect. And there are kids who will say, this is great, and they'll take what they need. But there are also kids that will just flatly refuse. Because you're assuming, like, logical understanding of future ramifications that is not in play.
It's like going into the gym and saying, I took 3 free throws, I got them all in, I'm a professional basketball player.
So
To
we're
some
let,
extent, there is that.
so we're,
You
the
don't
kids are
just only
dictating
do it
it?
once, though. So you don't take the 3 shots and now you're a competent free throw artist, right? Later on, we'll have another.
Well, that was the
um,
test. The test was to hit 3 free throws.
That's a test, but we test competencies and the performance indicators, which are subsumed under the competencies, on multiple occasions throughout the year.
So now you go to a basketball game and you miss 3 free.
But you know what would have helped?
You go back and you
Practice.
work at it.
Agreed.
Nice.
Agreed. I agree. Right. I'm
got
not
that
in
one.
disagreement with you, but the reality.
I get what Nate's saying, I do.
Can I speak to the fact that for 3 years, I ran around every single week handing out detentions for homework, and we did not see an increase in the amount of kids doing homework. If anything, it became a daunting task that drained the teachers and it drained me, and there was no positive outcome from it.
This is insane.
Teachers were giving up their lunch periods and having 20 kids in the classroom, and it did not change their
But that's
grades.
not detention. Detention's not at lunchtime.
Then we need to hire somebody to be after school for an hour a day.
I'd be willing to fund that.
But even if
But I'm just saying, like, but now
not-
then you have kids saying, I
You've
can't
seen
come
it,
this
it
week.
doesn't work.
It doesn't.
It doesn't change the, like, I've done that. I had detentions Tuesday and Thursdays for kids, and then
Well,
nothing changed.
I think everybody knows how I feel, so.
Yep. All right.
I think we need to work
the
out what
term
Nate
of
said.
evil comes to-
Between this, I do
If
like
you
what
want the
the
kids to do their
sample
homework,
said,
send them over to
Jim,
my
So
house.
but I don't know.
I agree with the concept. I totally agree with it. And I see where we're going with it. I think it's the point where we're at right now, and it's that transition point is where those kids who maybe could just do the competency and get ahead are not necessarily being given the next step. That's where we're at right now, and that's the kind of
And my argument stops the moment we start doing that.
that's the piece that, but we are focused on what our IKB homework policy is right now. So we are working on Nate's draft right now. No one has moved this. We have talked a bunch about it before we even moved it. I apologize for letting this get a little bit off the rails.
That's what we do.
I'm not doing
Do
it.
we want to
I'm not motioning
think
it.
about this? Do we want to move this? Do we want to go to another reading? What's the wish of the board?
I don't wanna move a policy
No, me either.
that still doesn't have an answer to the question, is my hang-up. And I'm not trying to be complicated or
Okay.
difficult,
I
but
get it.
So there's 2 people. Is anyone moving this policy?
Nope.
Okay.
Are we leaving it on the agenda, or are we taking it off until
After budget,
there's more movement of?
I guess I want to
like,
see
what's
more.
gonna move this along?
I mean,
in
currently
your
as it
mind?
stands,
I wanna understand
really
more from
can't
their
agree
side.
with as it stands
That's
at the moment. It doesn't make any sense. It tells,
what does it say? It tells,
That's
tells
our
you exactly
existing
how much.
policy.
So the old policy
Yeah.
stays in place anyway. in
No,
that
I'm, I
case.
think looking
Right
at it,
now,
yeah,
yeah.
I got enough to, here, I found it.
Fine, it would
The
be.
30 minutes per core subject, Monday through Thursday.
It doesn't reflect what's happening now.
It's not actually what's
It
going
can't
on.
be. But we don't, we're only halfway there, what's happening now, that's what I don't understand.
So what if we said something like we left it up to the discretion of the teacher or the school and
I would wanna know that they're
Somebody
saying that
needs to
we're,
move this before we get any
Yeah.
more discussion. Because
I'm
I'm
not-
not
I'm
having
not
any more
moving it.
discussion on this until somebody moves this policy.
Yep.
Is anybody moving it?
Nope.
We're done.
Okay.
All right. We are on to
Number 7.
number 7, high school discussion feedback. We have had a number of other people reach out after our high school forum. The overall feedback on the event was positive. People seem to like being able to give us some impressions of what where we are, have us explain where we are, and hear from them about where they would like to be. I have all of the sheets of paper, and I'm putting them all into, and I got some more tonight, so we're putting them all into a spreadsheet. So at the next meeting, I will have that as a spreadsheet for everybody. There have been a couple of emails as well, so if anybody's watching the meeting online, we acknowledge that we have received a couple of emails, and all of it will be pulled together for the next meeting.
Did everybody get the email that I pushed around from Kelly Quayle? She sent it to me and wanted
Yeah,
me to push.
there were,
I didn't,
Yeah.
I lost your email.
I think that's what you're planning to
next meeting,
incorporate.
Okay.
we will address some of the questions, additional
Okay.
questions that were asked to,
Perfect.
along with presentation of what everybody's feedback is. Any other comments on the high school discussion? Public comments.
Ron, my son is a senior at Concord High. While you guys were having your homework discussion policy, Concord does have a Crimson Code that they have there, so I asked him, I mean, I knew that most of it was, but he says, I asked him how much his homework counts at Concord. He said it doesn't, it's just part of their Crimson Code. The Crimson Code is 20% of their grade. He said the Crimson Code, they have to be an active participant, punctual to class, and they have to come to class prepared because they just can't go to their locker. He said, and that is graded weekly, their Crimson Code. So, if we're gonna stick with Concord,
What's the repercussions if they don't?
their Crimson Code goes down, which lowers their grade.
20% of
It's
their grade.
20% of
So
their
it's
grade.
overall in the
So it
grade?
is graded. So it is graded.
Yes.
And he
That's
sent me a
awful.
screenshot of one of his classes of how they're graded.
Any other?
Me too.
Andrea?
Sorry. I forgot that I told someone I'd ask. I don't know, has the board or the school ever discussed the storm bags, the blizzard bags?
We were gonna talk about
Or
that.
and if it has come to discussion, people want to know what the pros and cons were or why it wasn't instated. Has it ever come to you guys before?
I'm actually going to address that because the
We are gonna talk
curriculum
about that.
instructor at the SAU meeting said he was working closely with the different schools to create effective ways for that to be implemented.
Okay.
So it is being discussed.
All right, and then, I know the whole food budget discussion, just two things to say. One, Paula's great, I love her, so I don't want that cut. And two, I mean, to up the prices of food, and I know you weren't saying that or anything, but 4 kids, I think 4 or 5 months out of the year, and it is budgeted in our finances, I spend $215, which is roughly a week's worth of groceries. My kids eat here too, so some of us are paying quite a bit of money. And I don't know how that works, if the meal's $250, because you buy a loaf of bread for $5.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying anything bad, I know no one's, budgeting around with it, but I pay quite a bit of money to have my kids eat here, and I like Paul's.
And the food's good.
Those food prices are in line with the state.
Yep.
Yeah.
When do you want to have the discussion about the bags? Is that gonna be at the public comments?
We can put it on the next agenda.
I think we ought to look at that because I think we talked about you and I like the blizzard bags and some people don't, but we might want to take a look at, we're not even into the snow system yet.
Got feedback on blizzard bags from a lot of people and may have changed my opinion.
I'll put it on the next agenda.
We might want to look at an extra minutes
It
in
could
school.
be it could be an issue with negotiations too, so it's not as simple as,
Right.
as the board wanted to do it.
Right. And
They're
Chris,
aware.
Chris might have some interesting feedback on that.
Can you find out if it's an option if we wanted to go an extra 10 minutes?
They were gonna come with presentations
Are they?
about how to deal
Perfect.
with early snow weather days. Any other public comments? Okay, non-public session. I believe we do need non-public.
We do.
As per NHRSA 91-A:32, which one are we?
C.
C. I will entertain a motion to go into non-public.
So moved.
Second.
Nate?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Jim? Yes? Matt?
Yes.
Shelley?
Yes.
Public at 8:32. And I'm gonna take a quick break.
Shelley?
Yes.
It is?
Yeah, working with the grade,
that
could be working
Hang on.
with just to follow the process.
So,